What up, everybody? Good morning and happy Wednesday. Making the turn on this work week of ours. If you're already up and at it, thanks for hanging out with us this morning, whether you're listening on the radio dials, 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Also available to stream up online at sportstalk1051.com. You got your Wisco Sports App, the video stream up and rolling on YouTube. You can also get your Alexa devices, Google devices, smart devices. Just say, Alexa, play WAYY. Got the Shoe Doctors bullpen line up and rolling as well. 715-830-1912. But a happy Wednesday, everybody. What do we have on our loaded up game plan for us this morning? They did it last night. Badger basketball with a huge win on the road, taking down 8th-ranked Illinois in Illinois. 92-90 OT victory for Wisconsin. Another come-from-behind victory for Wisconsin. But again, led by the backcourt of John Blackwell and Nick Boyd. Boyd helping out with 25, Blackwell 24, Austin Rapp contributing 18 off the bench. So Wisconsin with another signature win. Another top 10 win on the road, too. Greg Gard. I know some people like to call him the assassin, Greg Gard and such, but that's kind of our whiteboard question topic of the day because it is our Whiteboard Wednesday. Give me one word that you would use to describe Greg Gard as a coach. One word that you would use to describe Greg Gard as a head coach. But I mean, this is with that win last night was Wisconsin's 7th win against a top 10 team on the road since Greg Gard took over as head coach. Most of any school during that time. Most of any school in the college basketball country during that time frame. And it wasn't that long ago either that Greg Gard, there was questions, there was, what's should he be the head coach there? It was just a few years ago. There was a lot of Badger fans wondering should the team move on from him and such. But one word that you would use to describe Greg Gard is what? As a coach. All right. Let's have a little fun with this. Be appropriate, too. But nonetheless, huge win for the Badger basketball team last night to improve to 17-7, 9-4 in the Big Ten. And again, adding another signature win that'll help boost their resume when it comes to the NCAA tournament. And the Badgers are going to have another chance to do it on Friday when they host the Michigan State Wolverines. So Wisconsin, with that win, 3 games back in terms of the Big Ten standings. They are currently in the 6th spot, tied up with UCLA. Michigan holding on to a 1.5-game lead now over Illinois. Purdue picking up a big win last night against Nebraska. That also went to overtime. So right now, your current standings, Michigan, Illinois, Purdue, Nebraska, Michigan State. Those 3, Purdue, Nebraska, Michigan State, 2 games back from first place against Michigan. Again, Michigan's only lost this season to Wisconsin. So, but yeah, we'll talk some hoops. We'll talk some college hoops. Marquette falling a bit short last night in their upset bid against Villanova, but it was still kind of some upsets galore. Purdue technically with an upset over Nebraska, and Miami taking down North Carolina as well. TCU taking down 5th-ranked Iowa State. So, and then of course Wisconsin. So had a few upsets in the college basketball landscape last night. So, hey, speaking of Wisconsin and college, this dropped yesterday. You probably already know about it. Probably already heard about it. Probably saw it on our socials and such. But Wisconsin volleyball yesterday announcing a spring game against the Minnesota Gophers. And it's going to be at the Sonotec here in Eau Claire. So mark your calendars. April 10th, 6:30. Ticket info to come, according to the release. But that'll be cool. Wisconsin volleyball taking on Minnesota at the Sonotec right in our own backyard here. So, again, that's going to be April 10th. So mark your calendars for that. Speaking of hoops, the Bucks are going to be back in action tonight as they'll be taking on the Orlando Magic again in Orlando. So tip time for tonight's game going to be at 6 p.m. You can tune in on the radio dials, 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Bucks will also be back at it tomorrow as they take on the Thunder. And then we've got All-Star break festivities. So, but we'll talk a little Bucks and talk a little hoops and such. We've got baseball talk galore. Hunter Baumgardt is going to join us at 9 o'clock, Brewers reporter for Fox Sports 920. We'll get the latest, get his thoughts on the trade of Caleb Durbin and such. And, you know, we got pitchers and catchers reporting, full squad workouts, just days away. We got the PECOTA rankings, the baseball prospectus projections. So where do they have Milwaukee? Probably no big surprise. 80.2 wins, 81.8 losses. Finishing second in the NL Central. They have Chicago, 90 wins, 90.1 to be exact, 71.9 losses. So they do not have the Brewers making the postseason this year. Dodgers, they've got at 104 wins, which is probably no surprise. The team with predicted with the second most wins, though, Seattle, 93.6. So, we've had, and this was kind of our post-Glass and Mirror 715 Speaks poll question last night on the Facebook page, on the Sports Talk Facebook page, because we're starting to get some, power rankings and such, depending on, the websites or the pages that you're looking at. But one of them that came from Fox Sports yesterday has the Brewers as a top 10 team. So we asked in our 715 Speaks poll question, do you believe right now, to begin the season, to open up the season, or better way to say it, heading into spring training, that the Brewers are a top 10 team? And a wide majority of you, 88% of you, said yes, you feel like that's the case, that the Brewers are a top 10 team as we head into spring training. But this one, again, was from Fox Sports. Dodgers 1, Blue Jays 2, Mariners 3, Yankees 4, Mets 5, Cubs 6, Brewers 7, Red Sox 8, Phillies 9, Baltimore 10. So, agree with it, disagree with it. If you voted, let me know why. If you didn't vote, let me know if you agree that they should be considered a top 10 team heading into spring training. So, we'll talk plenty of baseball. We're going to talk maybe a little football here, but the Packers reportedly going to the college world again to add another assistant coach. My guess is this is going to be for maybe a quality control coach, but the Packers are hiring reportedly Will Smart from Vanderbilt. Will Smart was the pass rush specialist at Vanderbilt. Hasn't been reported, again, what position or what role he's going to have on the defensive side. But with his rather small experience right now from the coaching side, it would make sense that it's going to be maybe a quality control. Maybe it's an assistant defensive line coach, or maybe it's something different. I don't know. But it's another coach coming over from the college world that for the Packers staff. And then yesterday, too, it was also reported that the Packers are going to be losing one of their assistant special teams coaches, Brian Storer, who's going to Cleveland to be the new special teams coordinator. So, but we'll throw a little football chat into the equation, too. So it is Wednesday, which means it is your Am I Wrong? Give me your sports opinion. Give me your sports take, your sports thought, where you would end it by saying, am I wrong? Am I wrong? All right. Best ones I'll read on the air. So that's your game plan for this morning. We're going to kind of dabble a little bit into everything here. All right. So let's take our first break, and then we'll get the leadoff going right away this morning. Plenty to get to. Good morning. Thanks for hanging out with us. Let's jump right into it. We'll be back after these quick words. If hunting season means something to you, it's time that you head on over to Tilden Gun. So, located right here in the Chippewa Valley, Tilden Gun is built for hunters who take their time in the woods seriously. Whether you're getting ready for deer season, waterfall, and everything in between, they carry a strong selection of firearms, ammo, and gear trusted by Wisconsin hunters. Whether you're sighting in for opening day, upgrading your setup, or just talking shop with the people who know the outdoors, Tilden Gun delivers experience that you can count on. This is a place where hunters are treated like hunters with honest, knowledgeable, and quality equipment. Stop on in today and see the difference at 12427 90th Avenue in Chippewa Falls. Or you can check them out online at tildengun.com. And if you're shopping for that Valentine's sweetheart in your life, and maybe they're a hunter, hey, go on and head on over to Tilden Gun. All right. So, okay, let's get things going here this morning. Let's talk some hoops. Badger basketball with the win last night. Big time win against Illinois on the road. Another top 10 win on the road for Greg Gard in this Wisconsin Badger program twice so far this season. They took down Michigan earlier this year in a top 10 win on the road, still giving Michigan their only loss. They have a chance to do it again at the end of this week against Michigan State on Friday the 13th. So another opportunity to add a signature win for the Wisconsin Badgers, a team that before last night, according to the bracketology and such, was a team that was, again, according to the experts, on the bubble, maybe just squeaking into the national tournaments, and this was going to be a tough week. Well, boy, they just added another notch on their belt. That was impressive. Can you imagine if they do it again on Friday? Can you imagine if they do it again on Friday against the Spartans, Michigan State? That would be awesome. And I would imagine at that point, I'd never get too comfortable, I guess, but you're probably feeling a whole lot better about their chances of making a tournament after that. So, but just another impressive win for Wisconsin on the road. And remember, too, Illinois was coming off of a loss against Michigan State. So, I mean, they were probably looking to, bounce back and get themselves back into the win column in that. But another come-from-behind victory for Wisconsin, too. And this is something that this team has done numerous times so far this year, coming back from double-digit victories, coming back from double-digit deficits in their games. And Wisconsin is a team that just, as Blackwell said after the game last night, they just chip away. They keep chipping away, and they've done it time and time again so far this year. Whether that's a good thing that they, you can kind of take it multiple different ways, I suppose. You could look on one hand, say, well, this is a team that doesn't quit no matter what the score is, and they'll still stay in it and then chip away at it. They never check out. Or you could take it from the other side and say, man, it'd be nice if this team just doesn't dig themselves into a hole so they can kind of, maybe have I don't know if easier is the right way to say it, but, maybe a little bit more of a less heart attack way of going through these games and such. But nonetheless, the most important thing from last night was this win. The Badgers improved to 17-7, 9-4 in the Big Ten Conference. Nick Boyd doing his thing. Probably the most consistent player for this Badger basketball team this year. 25 points in last night's victory. So far on the season, he is averaging at 20.2 points per game. And you look at what Nick Boyd has done as of late, he has scored 20 or more points in 5 straight games. 5 straight games so far. He has scored 20 or more points in 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 games this season. And he has been in double-digit scoring every single game this year. The lowest amount it looks like that he has scored in a game was the Gophers, Minnesota, back on the 13th of January, and then Penn State, where he had 11 points. But that's it. I mean, kudos to Greg Gard. Again, it nailed it last year. John Tange, didn't really know a whole lot about him. Dude was a fantastic pickup for Greg Gard in the transfer portal. And then brings in this Nick Boyd. Dude has been a home run pickup for Greg Gard. And John Blackwell, I mean, you look at the season he has been having too. Yeah, he's had a little bit of a down stretch here and there, but overall 18.7 points per game, averaging 5 rebounds per game. You know, last night shot 45% from 3, 45% from deep. And, you know, maybe one of the overall, you're looking at his shooting percentage and such, and you'd be like, maybe like to be a little bit higher. I mean, he was 9 of 22 from last night and such, but overall, this is a kid too, where would this team be without these two guys, Nick Boyd and John Blackwell, leading the way, leading the charge. And really quick, going back to Blackwell, just for comparison's sake, his field goal percentage is down from last year. Last year he was a 45%, shooting 45% from the field, and this year he's just 40.8. So, but you know, and then the other portion of the big three, Nolan Winter, offensively last night didn't do a whole lot, just 4 points, but getting it done on the boards, leading the team in rebounds with 11 rebounds, 7 of them defensively, 4 offensive rebounds too. So the Badgers also forced Illinois to turn the ball over 13 times last night, whereas Wisconsin only turned it over 4 total times. 8 steals by the Badgers compared to 0 from Illinois. Wisconsin also shot 71% from the charity stripe, 10 of 14. And Illinois just 11 of 19 from the free throw line. So, huge win for this team when it comes to bracketology, bubbles. And again, you kind of look at did I say the 7th? It's got to be more than 7. Let me bring up the stat again about Greg Gard and his wins on the road here. 7th win against a top 10 team on the road since Greg Gard took over as coach. That is the most by any school during that same time period. Greg Gard has been a guy, a coach that has come under, at various points, a lot of scrutiny from Badgers fans. It wasn't that long ago, Badgers fans wanted to see a different coach leading the charge for that program. You know, whether it was a Tony Bennett, whether it was Shaka Smart, you know, just throwing out random names here, that was always kind of mentioned, like, man, Badgers fans would like to see either one of those guys there. So, for our Whiteboard Wednesday, give me one word that you would use to describe Greg Gard. My Whiteboard Wednesday, I'm just going straight up baller. Greg Gard's a baller. I mean, this is where I give him a ton of credit. In the ever-changing landscape of college basketball with the NIL and transfer portals and such, and we have seen coaches, you know, veteran coaches leave and say, I don't want to mess with it. It's changed. I don't like it. And given that we know, hey, Wisconsin, basketball, you know, the constraints that come with recruiting at that university and such, Greg Gard has adapted. And for the most part, he has done it on his own. He has gone out on his own to help get NIL funds for his team, and he has adapted his approach to recruiting. He has adapted his approach to the transfer portal. I give a ton of credit to Greg Gard over these past couple seasons, these past few seasons. in the ever-changing landscape of college basketball, how he has adjusted and I guess updated to the times. Kind of changed, too. I mean, it's not anybody who thinks this is a Badgers team that is low-scoring defense. You have not been watching the last few years. That is not this Badger basketball team. That is not, the Bo Ryan era, even before the last 2 years of Bo Ryan when they had the 14 and 15 teams and they were just, scoring left and right with Frank and Sam and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But this is a team that has completely adapted. Greg Gard has maybe changed his ways and such, and I give him a ton of credit. Now, I'm sure there's probably going to be some that'll say he needs to win more when it comes to the tournament. When you get to the big dance, he needs to win more, needs to get further on. First couple years as head coach for the Badgers, made those Sweet 16s. Since then, you can kind of say, yeah, well, they need to advance a little bit further. They need to get a little bit deeper into the tournament. All right, I mean, that's fair. The thing is, too, with when we get to the tournaments and such, I mean, it's such a crapshoot. I think one thing that gets so overlooked and not factored in, it's so matchup based. Like last year, Wisconsin had a bad matchup in that second round against BYU. But I mean, okay, yeah, got a point. They probably should have won more in the tournaments. But overall, so far, Greg Gard is 230 wins, 124 losses in 354 games. He's got a 650 winning percentage. So, obviously, the one they didn't make the tournament, 2017, 2018, they didn't make it, and then 2022, 23, and such. But I'm curious to hear from Badgers fans who maybe weren't on the Greg Gard bandwagon a few years ago, or maybe you were a fan that wanted a change, didn't want Greg Gard as head coach. Has that changed? Do you still feel the same way? Why or why not? Like, how do you view Greg Gard and the job that he has done as head coach? And I think you have to factor in how college basketball, the landscape, has completely changed. How do you assess the job that Greg Gard has done? And I know once in a while we kind of do this in terms of, the state of Wisconsin, and we're like, okay, who's the best coaches, managers, and such. I think Pat Murphy, or the Q rating, I think Pat Murphy's probably got the number one Q rating if we just look at Wisconsin coaches, like the big-time programs, the money-making programs, and such. If Pat Murphy's 1, is Greg Gard 2, 3, 4? Is Greg Gard ahead of Matt LaFleur? Is Greg Gard ahead of Luke Fickell? Is Greg Gard ahead of Doc Rivers? Those guys? I would think he's got to be pretty high. But how would you assess the job that Greg Gard has done so far in his tenure as Badger coach? And do you trust him? Do you have faith in him? Or do you still have questions about when it gets to tournament time and postseason and such? Give me that one word you would use to describe Greg Gard. All right, we got to take a quick break. Back with plenty more coming up after these quick words. Car trouble never comes at a good time, but with AJM Automotive in Eau Claire, they are always ready. From routine maintenance to major repairs, their experienced technicians get you back on the road fast and done right. And if you're stuck, AJM Automotive also provides reliable towing when you need it the most. One call, hey, it can do a lot with AJM Automotive because you can make your appointment to get your vehicle fixed up, get an oil change, or get that tow. So give them a call. 715-835-9523. That's 715-835-9523. And again, a big congrats to our good friends at AJM Automotive. Grand opening for their second location today, 1627 Bellinger Streets. Today, tomorrow, Friday, we're going to be giving away some free oil changes, one each day. So if you want in on that free oil change, let me know, and I'll let you know when we're going to do a little trivia with it. So a little trivia question. So that'll be coming up. Let's do it in the 8 o'clock hour. All right, so make sure you're listening in the 8 o'clock hour for your chance to win free oil change from our good friends at AJM Automotive. Now, 2 locations. The original 1919 Brackett Avenue in Eau Claire, and their second one opening up 1627 Bellinger Street in Eau Claire. Surveyor Sam saying, holy heck, what a game. That has to be a clincher for the tournament. Blackwell and Boyd are a tremendous tandem. My question to you, DK, what year was the better backcourt? 23, 24, or 25? 23 was AJ Storr, and of course last year, John Tanji. Oh man, that's a good question. Is it possible that Nick Boyd is getting a little overlooked and underrated from a national sense? Like, I feel like Tanji, at least last year, was getting talk and mentioned from national peeps. Could be wrong. Not always perfect. But I feel like John Tanji was getting more. And I'm not saying this reason, but, man, you got Nick Boyd, who's just like Mr. Consistent so far this year. I think I'm going to go this year, dude. I think I'm going to go Blackwell and Nick Boyd. I like these two. I think I'm going to go with that. One word to describe Gard, persistence. Jeremy earlier saying one word he would describe Gard is steady. You know what you're going to get from him, and he never gets too high or too low. So I think those are good words so far. Keep those coming. Those are really good words. One word that you would use to describe Badger men's basketball head coach Greg Gard. Send those picks on over. All right? Send them on over. You would think that would be the clincher, Surveyor, assuming that they take care of business and not completely fall flat on their face with the rest of the schedule. I think that's a given at this point. But you're talking about 2 top 10 wins, both of them on the road. And you got Michigan State Friday. After that, at Ohio, Iowa, at Oregon, at Washington, home against Maryland. You definitely can't lose that game. And then you wrap up on the road against Purdue. And you can't lose that one to Oregon either. I mean, you've got to win your games against Washington, Maryland, and Oregon for sure. Ohio State's a pesky team, a desperate team that's just on the outside looking in if we use the bracketology. Iowa, maybe in the same position. They're 18-5, 8-4 in conference play. So, I mean, you still got some tough games here, but nonetheless, we talk about resume builders. That was a resume builder for sure last night. For sure. Couple more words coming through for Greg Gard. Tim says Greg Gard, one word, underrated. Ben says one word to describe Greg Gard is excellence. And another text coming in here for Greg Gard. This comes from Ryan. Ryan says one word that I would use to describe Greg Gard as a head coach is resilient. So, got some good ones. All right, you got some good ones. Keep those coming. All right, keep them coming for our Whiteboard Wednesday. So, I honestly, for my Mike Star market, am I wrong? I might I might go with Nick Boyd. Am I wrong for thinking that Nick Boyd is kind of underrated from a national sense, a national perspective, where you don't hear a whole lot about him? Like, he's not going to win Player of the Year or probably even Big Ten Player of the Year. But I mean, you look at the season that Nick Boyd is putting together here. He's 28th in the country in scoring with his 20.2 points per game. He has just been, as we were saying a little bit earlier, incredibly consistent throughout this whole season. It's just, I want to see if I can get okay, those are breakdowns per game and per team and splits and such. But, I mean, this dude, or I wish we could have him for a couple of years and such, but I get it. It's not, it's not how college basketball works these days. But what he has brought to this ball club has been incredible. And even like when you look at last year, when he was with San Diego State University, okay, he averaged 13.4 points per game. When he spent 3 years at FAU, 5.1, 8.9, 9.3. Comes to Wisconsin and just completely balls out. He's shooting 47.4% from the field. Obviously, that's career highs for him. 35.3, which is about average for him. He's a career 36.7. So, free throw-wise, he's a career 77. He's at about 81.7 this year. So, but no, this dude has exploded with his opportunity for Wisconsin. Man, where would this team be without Nick Boyd? Mr. Consistent so far. Probably not in the position that they're in right now, that's for sure. So, a couple more words to describe Greg Gard before we have to head to our final break here. But no name on this text. The word that they would use to describe Greg Gard is underrated. So we got another one for underrated. And then another word to use to describe Greg Gard is killer. I'm assuming that means like similar to the assassin one that gets thrown out there for Greg Gard, I hope. So before we head to break, hey, quick updates on the Olympics medal count and such. And I want to talk more Olympics a little bit later on here. And, women's hockey shutting out Canada for the first time. Canada shut out for the first time in the Olympics. So women's hockey team off to a fantastic start in the Winter Olympics. How much have you been paying attention to the Olympics right now? Or do you pay attention when it gets a little bit further into it? Like, where's your interest level in it right now? I want to talk more about this a little bit later on and such, but I want to kind of get a gauge of where all of you are right now, especially maybe now that Super Bowl is over with, NBA, Bucks specifically, kind of baseball hasn't started yet. But where's your interest level at for the Winter Olympics? Is it full throttle right now, or are you just kind of like, I'll get there once, maybe getting a little bit deeper? It's kind of maybe getting into it with hockey and such, but when we get a little bit further into it, that's when it's really going to pick up for me. But right now, a quick look at the medal count. Norway's got the most at 12 overall medals, and then they've got the most gold so far at 6. But USA creeping up there. They've got 8 total medals and 2 golds so far. So that's kind of where your medal count is. All right, we'll take a quick break, and we'll start to wrap up the first hour coming up after these quick words. If you're thinking about getting some new floors, there's one name that the Chippewa Valley homeowners know, and that is Carpet City Flooring Center right here in Eau Claire. From soft, comfortable carpet to durable luxury vinyl planks and tile, Carpet City Flooring Center has flooring options designed for real homes and real life. Whether you're updating a single room, maybe finishing up a basement for your man cave, or remodeling your entire space, their experienced team helps you find the right flooring to match your style, your needs, and even your budget. You'll get knowledgeable guidance, quality products, and professional installation all in one place. Hey, there's no confusing choices. There's no high-pressure sales, just honest advice and flooring that you'll feel good about for years to come. Visit Carpet City Flooring Center today at 3109 East Hamilton Avenue in Eau Claire and see the difference for yourself. All right, we got just a few minutes left to the top of the hour. So coming up next hour, I want to talk some baseball as we are getting set for pitchers and catchers reporting and spring training and such. Our poll question that we posted up last night on the Sports Talk 105.1 Facebook page for our post-Glass and Mirror 715 Speaks poll question. We asked, with the various power rankings that have come out, and you've got some power rankings that have come out that have placed the Brewers as a top 10 team as we head into spring training. Do you agree with that? Do you agree that the Brewers should be considered a top 10 team heading into spring training? And if we look at the PECOTA rankings, the baseball perspectives, I shouldn't say ratings, projections, they've got the Brewers sitting at about 80 and 82. Let's just round it, okay? 80 and 82. So a couple games under 500. Right now, do you argue that? Do you agree with that? It's like, they're just, overlooking them again like every single year. And yes, C-Bomb, every time we bring up these, yes, we've talked about the ones from last year and how they, completely demolished them. Yes, we've done that. I think every time we bring up these, you bring that up, C-Bomb. Yes, we have. But you look at these projections. Dodgers, 104 wins. Cubbies, 90 wins. They have the Brewers finishing second in the NL Central. Atlanta, they've got at about 91 wins. Mets, you're looking at 80, 89. Seattle's got the second most wins according to PECOTA, 93.6, so kind of average it up to 94. They actually have the Royals winning the AL Central this year. Kansas City. Not Detroit. Detroit sitting there at 83. So they're higher on the Royals this year. Yankees coming out of the AL East, but Toronto's right there behind them. Baltimore and then Boston. So it is really weird to see Sacramento still on that AL West listing there. It's just really weird to see Sacramento listed there. But, yeah, A's. Hey, A's ain't predicted to finish last in their division. That's reserved for the Angels. So that's got to be a topic maybe for a podcast episode, the fall of Mike Trout. Whew, feel bad for him. But speaking of feeling bad for people, good morning, Morgan.
Are you pitying me, or are you saying you feel bad for me because I have to come in here and deal with you?
I feel bad for our listeners that have to deal with you, with your knocks on me all the time. So that's,
Cry me a river.
Come on.
So what's the latest and greatest from Real World? What's the biggest?
Real World.
Yeah, the biggest problem you're having this week, because I got something for you.
I don't think I got a problem.
Okay, get this. This is weird, right? There's something up. I'm going to take you through the list of things that have stopped working in the last week. This is less than a week in my life. My phone just randomly starts freezing up and shutting down.
Okay.
It's like a fainting goat. It just randomly will crap out and then may or may not come back on for use. Mm-hmm. I have a pair of earbuds that won't connect to anything all of a sudden for no apparent reason.
Wired or wireless?
Wireless.
Okay.
So Bluetooth broke.
Yeah.
The key fob for our car no longer remote starts or unlocks when you hit the button.
Okay.
Yesterday, I went to plug in my laptop, and something sparked, had a small flame, and smelled like fire and electrical burning immediately after because my charger crapped out. This is basically new. And There's one more. Oh, I was trying to use a blender the other morning and nothing. Just completely randomly shut off and won't work for no reason. So,
and given your history with like vehicles and such too, I mean, there's got to be
coming
something.
off that deer that we just hit,
Yeah.
there's something going on. Like that's a lot of like I have bad cord karma or something because I don't like tech anyway, and maybe it knows it, like maybe it can sense it and it's firing back. But this is more than just coincidental.
Did you not return a chain letter?
Seriously? Something's going on. Have you had any issues with phones or anything breaking in any streaks of bad luck for you?
No.
Besides this?
Yeah, besides this, no.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Well, consider yourself lucky because it's going around. And if anyone else is dealing
going
with
around, maybe just for you.
I'm taking everyone's share, apparently. Okay. So if everything's working in your world, no worries.
So you need a new phone. You need a new laptop.
New blender.
A new blender.
New earbuds.
New earbuds.
This sounds like a conspiracy. And why, by the way, in my list of laundry complaints and playing whiny baby over here, do you have 2 phones in front of you right now?
I'm a very important person.
It's an embarrassment of riches.
Yeah.
You get 2 working phones, and I get one that I have to try to put on life support every 3 texts.
One's for Hudson. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, does he have a phone?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
What is the hard limit on that, Mom and Dad say?
Wait till he hits double digits, and maybe we'll talk.
Like, does 10 count?
Nah, I don't think so. That's still too early.
Is a 0 in it? It doesn't count as double digits.
That's correct. So,
what would he say? Would he want one now?
Oh, yeah.
He can have mine.
Yeah, there you go. All right, here we go. Second hour, second quarter, kicking off right now. We're going to talk some Brewers coming up here. By the way, 2 hours from now, 9 o'clock, we'll be talking with Hunter Baumgardt, Brewers reporter for Fox Sports 920. So we'll get his thoughts on the Brewers trade and then kind of heading into spring training and such, pitchers and catchers reporting and that. So we'll catch up with our good buddy Hunter coming up in about 2 hours. 2 hours from now, just past 9 o'clock. So it is a Mike Star market. Am I wrong? What do you got? All right, best ones. Send them on over. Your Mike Star markets. Am I wrong? Your sports opinions, your sports takes. Am I wrong for thinking Nick Boyd is one of the most underrated college basketball players in the country? Am I wrong for thinking that? No, you are not, because I think the same thing. So send yours on over. Hit me up with a quick text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912. So Brewers-wise, we've been kind of, I don't know if the rest of you have been kind of doing it, but, looking at some preseason projections, and we've kind of highlighted certain players on, like, Baseball Reference and such. Now we got the PECOTA standings, Baseball Perspectives and such, and they've got their projections for teams and wins and losses and such. So for the NL Central, probably no surprise to many, they've got the Cubs winning it with a 90-72 record. I'm rounding up. Technically, they got 90.1 and 71.9, but let's just round it. So 90-72. Brewers, they have finishing second, 80-82. So finishing under 500. They would not make the postseason. Dodgers would be the 1 seed. Atlanta, looks like, based off theirs, would be a 2 seed. Then the Cubbies. And then the Mets, they've got at 89 wins. Phillies, they have at 86 wins. Padres, they've got at 82. Giants at 81. And then you've got the Brew Crew in there. American League side of things, they have Seattle with, again, rounding up, 94 wins. Houston would be 86. Texas at 84. They got Kansas City over Detroit in the AL Central by just a couple games, 85 and 83. And then the AL East, Yankees, but Toronto. I mean, this is the closest. Is it the closest? I think it is the closest one. Yeah, it's got to be the closest one. That NL East one is pretty close too. But AL East, they've got the Yankees at 88 and 74, Toronto 87.8 and 74.2. So Baltimore 84, Boston 82, Tampa Bay 81. That is the only division where they've got every team finishing right at 500 or a little over 500, which probably is no surprise. You've been following Major League Baseball over the years, the last few years. The AL East, a close division, you say? Color me surprised. So, obviously the Brewers have surpassed people's expectations and projections many times over the years. Many, many, many times. You look at the roster, anybody who looks at the roster, and does it scream, oh, booyah, all-star? Is it scream like Dodgers? Heck no. Even the Cubs? Probably not. But the Brewers always exceed the expectations. It's just the question is, can they do it again this year with a fairly sizable roster changeover for some? I mean, MLB.com's projected lineup for the Brewers: Jackson Chourio, Bryce Terang, Contreras, Christian Yelich, Andrew Vaughn, Sal Frelick, Garrett Mitchell, David Ortiz, and David Hamilton at third. The pitching staff: Brandon Woodruff, Quinn Priester, Jacob Mizorowski, Chad Patrick, Kyle Harrison. That's MLB.com's projected rotation and lineup. Obviously, we know that's going to change probably quite a bit and at different times throughout the season. I was looking, so a little bit more detail here for Brandon Woodruff. I like what they've got for projections compared to innings pitched and such, compared to Baseball Reference. But they got Brandon Woodruff at 135 innings pitched. Jacob Mizorowski at 124. Quinn Priester at 140. Chad Patrick's coming in at 137. After that, you don't have any more pitchers getting over 100 innings. Close. Robert Gasser, they've got at 90. Logan Henderson at 73. Kyle Harrison, they've got at 78. Looking at position player-wise, Andrew Vaughn, they've got him being the primary first baseman, playing 80% of his time at first base. Bryce Terang, they've got 80% at second base, 10% at shortstop. They actually have Joey Ortiz at 70% of the time playing at third base this year. So, this is the baseball prospectus projections. 70% of the time they're projecting Joey Ortiz to play third base. They've got Jet Williams 60% of the time playing shortstop. So that's where the highest is. David Hamilton is kind of all over the place. 25% third, 15% second, 15% short. Jackson Churio coming in, 55% of his time is going to be at left field. Garrett Mitchell, 50% in center field. Just kind of going through some of the other ones. I mean, Contreras, primary, catcher. Sal Frelick, 60% in right field, 20% in center field, too. And Christian Yelich, 75% DH. Some of the other numbers here, they've got the Brewers allowing more runs than scored this year. So they've got the Brewers giving up 701 runs compared to scoring 693 runs. Now, how does that compare to, let's say, last year? Well, let me bring that up for you. So the Brewers, let's see if I can find it really quick here. This is where I need Surveyor to look this stuff up here, but let me see if I can find it fairly quickly here. But all right, it's going to take me a little bit because I got too many windows opened up. So, but for a team that prides themselves on run defense and such, and I think this is more of what they're viewing as a lack of offense from the Brewers. I think that's probably what that's referring to more so than anything, is they just don't trust the offense whatsoever. They don't trust the offense. So last year, the Brewers scored 806 runs. So you're talking about a little over 100 runs difference, 100-run difference. I mean, again, can you fault the projections for saying that when it comes to the offense? Probably not, right? Probably not. And we're just kind of hoping that maybe the Brewers offense can surpass those expectations again. What did the Brewers allow last year for runs? Let me see if I can find this. So the Brewers, okay, so last year the Brewers allowed 634 runs. So maybe that's a little interesting to me, is these projections have the Brewers giving up 701. I mean, that's 60, was it 65? No, 67 more runs? Okay. My guess would be maybe it's because of the younger pitchers. You don't have a Freddie Peralta on there. Maybe some questions about third base with, kind of a, you don't have Caleb Durbin and such over there. That would be my guess. If anything, though, if I were to make and we're going to get to projections and predictions when we get closer to the season and such, but I feel like if there's one that's going to be a little bit different, I would say that the Brewers are going to allow fewer runs than 701. I feel like knowing that they want to be a run prevention team and they want to be a team that prides themselves on defense and such, I'd probably go lower on that one. But a lot of this stuff across the board here, they've got the Brewers as essentially, to kind of sum it all up, they've got the Brewers as a 500 team in a lot of areas, whether it's the record, whether it's run differentials and such. It's about a 500 team is what Baseball Prospectus is predicting. And again, I don't think anybody should probably be too surprised at that. The question is, can the Brewers surpass those expectations again this year? Can they win another division championship again this year? I mean, the bar is set pretty low from a national perspective when it comes to the Brewers. For a defending division champion, multiple division champion, but it makes sense, right? It makes sense. So, all right, we got Clay says, "Am I wrong for watching figure skating last night?" No, you're not. No, you're not. Mark says, "How about those Badgers?" We spent the first hour, Mark, talking about the Badgers, man. Where were you in that first one? So, but yeah, we talked about them for the entire first hour. No doubt, it was big win for that Badger basketball team. A signature win for that Badger basketball team last night. Another road win against a top 10 opponent. Fantastic win for Greg Gard and his crew. All right, we'll talk some more Brewers. We've got Hunter Baumgardt joining us a little bit later on. We'll get his thoughts, his takes on the trade from trade of Caleb Durbin and Brewers getting set for pitchers and catchers reporting and all that. So we'll get to Hunter here in just a little bit. But continue to send me your "Am I wrongs?" Am I wrong? Clay, you're not wrong. We had it on the house too. My wife is a former figure skater, so yeah, we had it on for a little bit too, even though Hudson wanted to watch basketball. So we had a couple TVs going on, Badgers and then the Olympics. So, but yeah, continue to send yours, your Mike Star Markets. Am I wrongs? Good ones. I'll read on the air. That was a good one, Clay. So, all right, we'll take a quick break. Plenty more to get to. We'll be back after these quick words. We're hitting the road with the mobile man cave here. Hudson and I are actually we're coming up with some ideas maybe to kind of redecorate the inside of the mobile man cave. So we're working on that. Probably have to do that when the temps warm up a little bit and such. But a big thanks to our mobile man cave partners, Hy-Vee, Carpet City Flooring Center, Service Master Chippewa Valley. Shout out Clay. SC Swiderski's, Superior Auto Body, shout out Nick and Company, VFW Post 305, and Toyson Ford for joining us on our tailgates, road shows, and our tailgate stops too. So when you're out on the road, make sure you're paying attention to see that mobile man cave. And hey, if you got any suggestions on some interior decorating that Hudson and I are going to be kind of working on this summer, just to revamp it up a little bit, feel free to send us a message and such. So I got a few more messages on that texting line, that Shoe Doctor's bullpen line to get to here. We'll get back to those here in a little bit, catching up on some Badgers and some Brewers. Going to switch gears here for just a little bit and chat some Packers for a few minutes. First off, good morning to our friend Joe. Joe, how are you doing, man?
I am doing wonderful, Dan. How are you doing? I am on the shores of Lake Michigan in beautiful St. Joseph, Michigan right now.
Nice. And Detroit's country over there. So, yeah, all right.
Yeah, a little bit. But, I got to tell you, you and the family need to make a trip over here this summer because the beach here is absolutely fantastic. Now, it's not too fantastic today. It's a little cold, but it is a cool beach. So you and the fam need to come out here this summer.
I've never been to Michigan, not even the UP. Fun fact.
Oh, my gosh. I was in the UP on business 2 weeks ago. I'm in the lower part of Michigan this week. And it's interesting, real quick, funny story. I was doing a workshop in the UP, and I said I also work in lower Michigan. And all of a sudden, some lady out of the audience called me a troll. And I said, wait a second, what? And of course, I didn't expect a heckler at a marketing workshop. But apparently, if you work or live below the bridge in the state of Michigan, they call you trolls from the UP. So there you go.
All right. I did not know that either.
The more you know. The more you know.
Got that NBC, thing that just, the old school NBC, the more you know, just flashed in my mind right now. So it's like the public service announcements over there. So let's chat some green and gold. So last week we got to hear from Brian Gutekunst for the first time since the season wrapped up and such. I know it was a few days ago, but did anything kind of stand out to you in some of the comments from Goody's presser last week?
Yeah, I thought it was not your standard end of the season, moving on to the next season GM presser. I thought it was more real. I thought his disappointment in how last year ended was real. I think this team and the organization felt that the arrow was pointing up at the point of the season. I believe they were 9-3. And I think they really believed that they had what it was going to take to get them to the Super Bowl. And so I think what really stood out for me, honestly, was his real disappointment. And actually that was refreshing. For me, I kind of looked at it and said, okay, that's kind of cool to hear that kind of realism coming from a GM rather than just the same old cliches we usually get. So that was the one thing that I kind of took away, that I think everyone in that organization has a chip on their shoulder. And again, the chip on their shoulder only goes as far as the play on the field. So, they can have as big of chip as they want to, but if it doesn't translate to the field, it's not worth anything. But I think the organization, even Ed Policy, spoke of it too, as far as the disappointment. So that was kind of the vibe I was getting, that the organization, from the front office all the way down to the players, I think huge disappointment. And I think watching that Super Bowl and watching what transpired the rest of the playoffs, they left a lot of meat on the bone, and I think the organization knows that. Yeah,
there was a theme that I had kind of caught. Maybe it was just me, but he mentioned quite a bit the phrase "those last 5 games," and it felt like it was still really eating at him and how they finished that game. And I thought, there was a little bit more frustration, and obviously I thought it was, it was still bugging him how they finished the rest of that season.
Yeah, and the other theme was not only finishing the season but finishing games, and I think that was probably, and I obviously I don't know this, but I'm gonna expect, or I think that was probably a big part of the conversations. As you're talking about the extension with Matt LaFleur, as you're talking about the extension with Brian Gutekunst and Russ Ball and Ed Policy. So it's not only finishing the season; it's how do you finish the games out? And I think. I think this team being a young team, I think that excuse has been worn out. And I think now it's time to produce. Now again, I get it. Injuries happen. Arguably, 4-ish of their top 10 players suffered major injuries. And then when you look back to Christian Watson, was out for the first half of the year. So there are some reasons that things happened. And the bottom line is, though, you can't use those as excuses. You just need to get better. And this football team right now, I'm looking at the odds right now. I believe they have the 5th best odds right now to win the Super Bowl next year. And I'm looking at the power rankings, and I'm seeing anywhere from 7th to 14th as far as the power rankings go. So the expectations are still there. The window is still there, but this team needs to finish games better, which hopefully translates to finishing the season better.
I want to ask you, based off what we saw in the Super Bowl, and I know a common thing from a lot of people was, well, if Green Bay was healthy, they would have been in that game and such, which I kind of take a step back because a lot of it was, I don't know if that offensive line could have stopped a team like Seattle's defense and such. And we were kind of talking a little bit about it earlier in the week. Looking at Seattle as the metric, because they are the champs right now, what is the biggest improvement Green Bay has to have this offseason to get to that Super Bowl? Is it the offensive line because of what we saw from Seattle's defense, or is it something else?
No question it's offensive line. I think, look, you could also make a case for cornerback play, but I think having a healthy Micah Parsons when he comes off the ACL will make a huge difference in the defensive passing game. And so let's look at the offensive line, though. And there are reports out that there's still a glimmer that they could bring back Elton Jenkins. There's a glimmer there. And I think if they do bring him back, I think that also could lead to Aaron Banks maybe being an off-season cut and moving Elton Jenkins back to that left guard position. And so, it is the offensive line. And you've got Zach Tom. More than likely, Rasheed Walker is going to walk, which now Jordan Morgan becomes that left tackle position. Sean Ryan, also a free agent. I'd like to see Green Bay bring him back. But it was intriguing when I started seeing this that, bringing Elton back, putting him back at left guard, and letting go of Banks, I don't hate that. And if they can make the math work, and maybe get Jenkins to get an extension and maybe a restructure, those types of things, I really don't hate that. But there's just no question in my mind that offensive line needs to improve. And I'm still shocked that there was not a move made with Luke Butkus as far as the offensive line position. That still could happen from a coaching standpoint. But yeah, I think that's the number one concern, seeing how Seattle played defense in that Super Bowl and seeing how they were able to get pressure with just their front four. There's no question this offensive line for the Green Bay Packers needs to get better.
With that, does Jordan Morgan, I know Matt Schneidman had a piece on it from The Athletic yesterday, and Jordan Morgan, do you think he needs to focus primarily practicing and training camp, offseason, preseason at left tackle? I know Goody, kind of danced around it a little bit, said they like their offensive linemen to practice multiple spots in case their number is called upon and such. But do you think for Jordan Morgan's sake, and maybe for this team's sake, so they know whether they have their future starting left tackle, they need to focus him more on left tackle this offseason?
100%. 100%. And look, if you go back to the exhibitions in games, and Rasheed Walker had an injury and Jordan Morgan played a lot in the preseason last year at that left tackle position. If you watch him from a scouting standpoint, he's got left tackle feet. And he reminds me a lot of the early years of David Bakhtiari. And the thing that always impressed me with Bakhtiari, and I go back to Chad Clifton, you look at these left tackles and you look at how they're able to move and how they do the kick step and how they do those types of things that are real fundamentals for a left tackle position. And I think Jordan Morgan has that type of build, those type of feet, that type of movement. I think he's a natural left tackle. So I think no question, I think he needs to focus on that position. And again, I see Rasheed Walker getting a nice payday somewhere. Someone's going to pay him big bucks to be their left tackle. Good for him. I think Green Bay got a lot out of that 7th round pick. So, you can't fault the Packers and you can't fault Rasheed Walker. But Jordan Morgan is a left tackle, and he needs to focus there 100%. Same thing with Anthony Belton. I think Anthony Belton proved that he could be a promising right guard. And I think he needs to focus on that interior, whereas you have Jordan Morgan stay focused on the exterior.
There was a report over the Super Bowl weekend, too, that it doesn't necessarily shut the door on Romeo Doubs potentially returning to Green Bay. We know the connection he has with Jordan Love on and off the field and such, but I don't know about that one, Joe. I almost feel like the money would have to work, and I feel like there's other resources they could allocate that money towards. I mean, if he's back, okay, cool, but how much would that maybe stunt the growth of Matthew Golden, though, too?
I just don't see Dobbs coming back. I just don't. And maybe having conversations, is it worth a conversation? Of course it is. 100%. Is it worth reaching out and seeing where the market is and seeing where his head is at? Absolutely. I just don't see it, though. I see that a luxury, and I see Romeo Doubs as a good football player. There is nothing special physically from a Romeo Doubs standpoint. And I'm not saying that as a negative. Nothing jumps out at you. He doesn't have the 4.2 speed. He doesn't have the sprinter, the tall, lanky sprinter build that a Christian Watson has that reminded me a lot of the James Lofton build back in the day. He's not sneaky quick out of the slot like a Jaden Reed is. And so is he a good route runner? Yes. Yes, he's a good route runner. Is he a good football player? Absolutely. Is he a number one wide receiver? I don't think so, and I think it's a luxury the Packers can't afford.
With the franchise tag, window kind of popping up, is there a player, even if they trade him, and it's a risk, but is there a player that if you were Goody, you maybe think about, okay, let's put the franchise tag on him, and maybe it's with the hopes of re-signing him or potentially trading him? I mean, you got Romeo, you got Quay Walker, you got Rasheed Walker, that sort of thing, or is that too risky in your opinion?
I just don't see it. I just don't see Green Bay using the franchise tag, and I just don't see the need for it. I don't think they should. I don't think there's a player that I want to roll the dice on, so to speak. So no, I would not use the franchise tag. I would let the chips fall where they may. When you look at Quay Walker, is there still a window there? Of course there is. We talked about Rasheed. We know Malik Willis is gone, and I think he's gonna be swept up pretty quick. And if it's not Miami, that would shock me. But yeah, I just don't see any of those players that are free agents for Green Bay worth the franchise tag, worth rolling the dice on. So I think it makes sense for Green Bay to, during that franchise period, to sit on their hands and do nothing.
Would you so just playing devil's advocate, would you place maybe a transition tag, franchise tag on Malik Willis and say, all right, Miami, give us a 3rd or 2nd round pick, and then you can have him? Because I think Ted Thompson, did he do that with, was it Colin Cole or Corey Williams, I think, in 2008, that defensive lineman, then he shipped him to Cleveland for a 2nd round pick?
Yeah, Corey Williams. Corey Williams. I just don't see it because the quarterback position franchise tag is too expensive. Mm-hmm. And again, when you look at the different positions and then you look at the scale for that position for the franchise tag, it's just too expensive. And, what if it backfires? What if and again, you'd have to have a deal in place and all those types of things. And so could it get done? And could the fact that, John Eric Sullivan is now the GM in Miami and obviously, happily being the coach and, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, I mean, are there all these triggers that could say, could there be a handshake kind of a deal? Yes. I just don't see it, though. It just, to me, it's clear cut. Malik Willis is going to be a backup quarterback in Green Bay. It's clear cut that he has an opportunity now to be a starter in the NFL. I just don't see. I don't see it, but you never know. I mean, they could do for a 5th round pick, maybe, but I just don't see it happening.
Last question for you. There's a report too that the Packers are hiring Will Smart, who is a pass rush specialist at Vanderbilt. It could probably be for a defensive quality control coach or maybe an assistant position coach or such. But this is another coach that the Packers are bringing from the college level over here. What do you make of that? Or is that just, maybe just by happy circumstance? Because I think off the top of my head, maybe this is the 3rd coach on the defensive side that they're bringing from the college, or the 3rd overall because of the new wide receivers coach too.
Yeah, and look, the new wide receivers coach I love a lot, and I believe that guy is a UMD kid from Minnesota Duluth, and so I like that move a lot. I don't think there's a trend because I think Green Bay has done a nice job of bringing experience in as well this offseason. So I don't think it's really a trend that they're looking intentionally for college coaches. I think this is just where the chips are falling, but I think Green Bay has done a nice job of building experience with some of these hires as well. But again, bringing the guy in as who's a pass rush specialist coach, yeah, I'm kind of with you. Is he a quality control guy for the Green Bay Packers? Probably. Is he a guy that you could potentially grow? Potentially. But I don't look at it as Green Bay is leaning in this direction. I think it's just the way the chips are falling and the way that they're announcing some of these hires that it feels that way.
Yeah, the wide receivers coach, Noah Pauley, I'm really intrigued with that one. I know he summer interned with Green Bay in 2022. He was Christian Watson's wide receivers coach. Heck, if Kyle Shanahan interviewed him for an offensive coordinator job just a couple of years ago, obviously that guy's gotten a lot of attention. So I'm really intrigued with that hire.
Yeah, I loved it. And again, like I said, I know some high school coaches in our area that know him from back in the day at UMD. And so, I am really, really, really intrigued by that one. And I thought that was everything I've heard about this guy is that he will be an OC within the next 2 or 3 years. And he's the kind of guy that has head coaching potential. And the way Christian Watson went on and on and on about him at the Super Bowl has me excited for that room. So I think that room is ready to take a next step, which is needed because you have a lot of young guys still that need to take that next step. So very excited about that one. And again, I think LaFleur has done a nice job overall building his staff back up. And it's, again, I think there's a good mix of experience in young up-and-comers, and I think that's exactly what you need.
Yeah, I agree. He's Joe DeGuano joining us this morning, chatting some green and gold as we are now fully into the off season. So we got combine, pro days, all that stuff coming up next on the docket. So rest up on that winter beach and get ready for some draft talk coming up here soon.
Yeah, you know what? We're a month away from the 2026 NFL season officially starting. So, it's not that far off until we start having those types of conversations, which I love, of course. But, every once in a while, the Brewers got to stay relevant. And, hey, let's trade Caleb Durbin right before pitchers and catchers report. So even though the NFL is a month away, the Brewers are keeping in the news, so to speak.
Exactly. Well, hey, safe travels when you do come back, sir, and we'll chat with you again soon, okay?
All right, my man. Take care.
You got it. There you go. There's Joe DeGuano joining us here this morning, chatting some green and gold. All right, we got to take a quick break. Continue to send me your Am I Wrongs. Nick, am I wrong for thinking the Dan Kasper Sports Talk radio show is the best sports talk show in the state, not just on the air, but off the air as well? I don't know what you mean by off the air, but I appreciate the kind words too. So your $20 is in the mail. We'll take a quick break and be back with more coming up after these quick words. When joint pain, stiffness, or injury affects your daily life, just turn to Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Their experienced physicians and care teams provide comprehensive orthopedic care for shoulders, hips, knees, backs, and more. They're focused on helping you move comfortably again. From diagnosis to treatment and recovery, you'll receive personalized care close to home. Learn more or schedule an appointment online at cvosm.com. Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Expert care to keep you moving. I got another Am I Wrong here because apparently this is making some it's making stories in the sports world right now. So Seattle's got their parade today, okay? Their Super Bowl parade. But it's making, like I just saw NFL Network, it was Ian Rappaport, I think even posted about it. Public schools are going to be remaining in session. You do not, kids, you do not get the day off in Seattle to help celebrate the Super Bowl championship. Am I wrong for thinking bad move? Or am I wrong for thinking smart move because then the parents can maybe go and such? I don't know. But yeah, this is on NFL.com. Seattle Public Schools to stay open on Seahawks Parade Day with no excused absences. No excuses, kids. Stay in school. Part of the quote says, as the city plans celebrations, including a victory parade planned for Wednesday, February 11th at 10 a.m., we want families to know that Seattle Public Schools will remain open with the normal early release Wednesday schedule. So apparently early release ranges from 1:10 to 2:30. Do they a normal early Wednesday release? Man. Skipping class will be recorded as an unexcused absence. All right. In each of the past 3 years, multiple schools and districts were closed on Super Bowl parade days for Philly and Kansas City. So, you can make cases for either side, right? Depending on, you want to take your kid to see the parade, or maybe as an adult, you just want to go on yourself as a parent. I don't know. So, all right. Well, Nick says backyard dreams off air. I got you now. Well, again, appreciate the kind compliments there, Nick. Okay, so coming up next hour, we're going to do a little trivia to help you win an oil change from AJM Automotive. Again, big congrats to our friends at AJM Automotive for opening up their new location, 2 locations in the city of Eau Claire. So grand opening today. We're going to, each day from today through Friday, tomorrow and Friday, going to be giving away a free oil change and such. So we'll do a little trivia with that. So make sure you're paying attention in the 8 o'clock hour for your chance to win that. Also, continue to send me your continue to send me your Am I Wrongs? Am I wrong for this sports thought, sports opinion, sports take? Am I wrong? Best ones I'll read up on the air. First hour, we talked all Badgers, but part of our Whiteboard Wednesday was give me one word or a small phrase or a short phrase that would describe Greg Gard as head coach. Like, what do you think, in your opinion, is like, this is how I would describe Greg Gard as a head coach? All right. Had a lot of good ones in the first hour, but if you didn't have a chance to send those or send yours on over, please do so, okay? We'll get back to some more Brewers chat as well, plus Bucks are back in action tonight, just a couple games left until the All-Star break. So, all right, final break, and then we are already at halftime. We'll be right back in just a couple minutes. Looking for a great place to gather in Eau Claire? Well, then you need to check out the VFW Post 305 with a full calendar of events, live music, and a menu packed with crowd favorites. It's a spot where everyone feels welcome. Whether you're stopping on in for a casual night out, meeting friends, or catching up over some great food and beverages, there's always something happening at the VFW Post 305. So check them out today, 1300 Star Avenue, and don't forget to mark it on your calendars when we're going to be hanging out at the VFW Post 305 Friday, March 20th. A little hoops skip day action coming your way. So, again, if you're looking for somewhere to hang out and watch basketball for the day, hang out with us at the VFW Post 305. All right. So we only got a couple minutes left to the top of the hour here. So we'll get back to some more Brewers chat. We've got Hunter coming up at 9 o'clock. So we'll do that. Talk to Brewers reporter for Fox Sports 920, Hunter Baumgardt. So get to him in a little over an hour. I want to get back to some more Badger hoops chat. Big win last night against Illinois. They've got another chance to do it again Friday against Michigan State. So we'll get back to some more Badger chat as well. We'll throw a little Bucks chat in there too as we get closer to the All-Star break, but the Bucks are back at it tonight, taking on the Orlando Magic. John Horst did do a radio interview just the other day too, and we'll kind of give you what he said timeline here for Giannis's potential return. So we'll hit that up. What else? Well, we got more Am I Wrongs, so please send those on over. And again, what is the word or a short phrase that you would use to describe Greg Gard as head coach? What's the one word or a quick short phrase that you would use to describe Greg Gard? All right. Best ones, send them on over. We'll read them up on the air too. So we'll get to that after we get to halftime. What up, Zach? Zach's on the YouTube stream. Good morning to Zach as well. And well, good morning to everybody else that's tuning in, but not texting or sending us messages on the YouTube. So I know you're there. All right. Got a minute left. So we'll kick it off. And plus we're going to be handing out some free oil changes from AJM Automotive. We're going to hand out one coming up in the next hour. So get your trivia socks on. All right. Get you ready. No cheating either. All right. Be honest. No cheating. No cheating with this. Have some fun with it. Okay. But we'll get to that coming up in the next hour, too. So, plus, I do want to talk Winter Olympics in the 9 o'clock hour. How into the Olympics are you right now? Or is it kind of maybe kicking into gear a little bit? Maybe now hockey with the women's team with that very impressive win against Canada yesterday. Maybe it's kind of getting you more into it. But how into the Olympics are you currently right now? All right, let me know, because I do want to touch on the Olympics in a little bit more detail coming up in the 9 o'clock hour after we talk to Hunter at the top of the hour. So, all right, halftime is here. 2 hours in, 2 more to go. We got news updates, and we'll be right back in just a couple minutes. All right, halftime is over with. We are kicking off the third hour right now. Thanks for hanging out with us this morning. Appreciate it, no matter how you're listening. If it's on the radio dials, 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Maybe you're streaming us up online at sportstalk1051.com, your Alexa or Google devices, the app, the Wisco Sports App, the YouTube video stream, all that good stuff. We appreciate it, hanging out with us. So, Zach says for the Olympics, I turn it on every morning and it usually stays on most of the day. So it's safe to say I'm invested in the Olympics at this point. Been watching the women's hockey pretty close. So, all right. How about the rest of you? All right, let me know. Okay. Hey, I know I mentioned it in the first hour here too, but it's worth bringing up again because this is so cool. But if you missed it yesterday, Badger women's volleyball, they're going to be taking on Minnesota in a spring game at the Sonnentag in April, Friday, April 10th. So tickets not quite on sale yet. That info's to come. But, yeah, it was announced yesterday. Wisconsin women's volleyball going to be taking on the Minnesota Gophers at the Sonnentag. That's pretty dang cool. That's really cool. So see if I can be able to check that out. That'd be a lot of fun. So, wanted to throw that out there again as a reminder in case you missed it on the socials or anything like that. So, speaking of Badgers, though, let's talk some more Badgers, shall we? Badger basketball with the W. Last night, big time W against Illinois. Overtime victory for Wisconsin. And adding another signature win to the resume for a team that, depending on if, the bracketology is accurate, for a team that's maybe kind of on the bubble, that's going to go a long ways to securing their spot into the tournament. I mean, there's still games to be played and games that are, you got to win those type of games like Oregon, Washington, Maryland, etc. But a 92-90 victory over the 8th-ranked team in the country on their courts. That's pretty darn impressive. Nice bounce-back win after falling to Indiana. So Badgers improved to 17-7, 9-4 in Big Ten play. Nick Boyd, again, I think he is the most overlooked. I'm biased. I get it. I completely get it. I'm biased and such. But I think he is the most overlooked, underappreciated player in college basketball. At least one of the top ones. You don't hear his name. At least I haven't too much across the national landscape. You still hear John Blackwell, and rightfully, that's not a knock on John Blackwell, but I feel like, from Nick Boyd's case, you don't hear enough about him. And the guy has just been nothing but spectacular for this team this year. 10 of 19 from the field last night, 25 points to lead the Badgers. John Blackwell, 24 points for him. And then Austin Rapp coming off the bench and contributing 18 points. Austin, too, is kind of an interesting player, excuse me. We were just talking with RJ Cardinal about the big three for Badger basketball. Nolan Winter, he only few points last night, but he had 11 boards, was effective in that game. But outside of Nolan Winter, Boyd and Blackwell, they just need a little bit more. Who's that other guy that could kind of step up and be that contributor? Austin Rapp's potentially, one of those guys for sure. And you look at his last two games that he has played in, you kind of wonder how much they maybe missed him against Indiana, but 18 points against Illinois. He had 19 against Ohio State back on the 31st. So is he one of those guys that maybe is that consistent, that could be a part of that group and be a consistent presence for this team? Obviously, Carrington's had his moments too, and last night he played 22 minutes, 8 points, but we've seen him break out every so often as well. We just need that consistency from those bench players if they want to make a deep run into the tournament. So, but you look at Greg Gard, And it's the question I threw out in the first hour. It's part of our Whiteboard Wednesday question. Because Greg Gard has definitely been a coach over the last how many years? The Q rating on him has been all over the place. Wasn't that long ago, a lot of Badgers fans wanted somebody different besides Greg Gard to be the head coach of the men's basketball team for the University of Wisconsin. And now if I were to ask, okay, rank Wisconsin coaches, Pat Murphy's probably number one. Like we do a little Q rating. Pat Murphy's probably number one. Is Greg Gard 2, 3, 4? I mean, is Greg Gard ahead of Matt LaFleur? Is Greg Gard ahead of Luke Fickell? Is he ahead of Doc Rivers? I think a lot of people would put him up there. And you look at this little fun nugget. This is the 7th time during Greg Gard's tenure as head coach that Wisconsin has gone on the road against a top 10 opponent and won. That is the most during that time frame than any other college program. The most right now. So what's the word that you would use to describe Greg Gard? We had a lot of good ones here. I just went, dude's a baller. And I give Greg Gard just a ton of credit for adapting to the current state of college basketball, adjusting. Not like, hey, this is how we do it and this is how we're always going to do it. The guy had to go out on his own for NIL and raise funds and such. Didn't stand pat, didn't just sit there and complain about it. Guy went out and said, okay, this is the way it's got to be, or this is the way it's going to be now. This is how we got to change. We got to adapt to the times. And we've talked about it how many times? Recruiting-wise, going out overseas, bringing in some players. Transfer portal. I mean, you look at John Tanji last year, now Nick Boyd this year. Dude's been killing it with that. Even with players, leaving the team. I don't envy a lot of these college coaches anymore because of the uncertainty surrounding their program year after year after year after year. Essentially, you are putting together almost brand new teams every single year. I think long gone are those days of the Deckers and the Frank Kaminsky's, that are going to stick around and develop. Obviously Sam Decker got playing time right away as a freshman because he was a sixth man. But, long gone are probably the days of a Frank Kaminsky who, 2-star. But I think now more than ever, okay, those players, they may be leaving programs because they want playing time right away. But I think just waiting your turn, those days are kind of gone. Wisconsin's adjusted a little bit. Greg Gard has adjusted to it. And I'm sure that, for the knock for some people who maybe are not fully on the Greg Gard bandwagon is, okay, he's got to win more in the tournament. He's got to do more in the tournament. Wisconsin's got to win more games. They got to get to Sweet 16s. They got to get to Elite Eights and such. Okay, that's a valid argument. You look at it and, yeah, that's been missing as of late. But overall, and then you look at the Big Ten and you look at the quality of teams and the depth and such, and it's just Wisconsin's still there. They haven't been lost in the shuffle. They haven't been, pushed down the standings or anything like that. They're still incredibly well respected within that conference, and I think across the league. I know Wisconsin has, before some of these top 10 wins and such, but if we get to the tournament and let's say Wisconsin gets an 8 seed, 7 seed, whatever it is, I'm curious what bracketology would have them right now after that win last night, because they were like one of the first four with first four that is a bye, like just really on that bubble. So if I were let's say again, Wisconsin's a 7 seed, 8 or 9, wherever they line up at this point in time. If I was a 1 seed or I was a 2 seed and I would have the possibility of playing Wisconsin in the second round, I'd be a little bit nervous if I was that top seed. Because Wisconsin obviously has shown right now, beating Michigan on the road, beating Illinois on the road, 2 top 10 teams, they're not intimidated. Yeah, they've had some bad losses this year too. And I'm not saying that's a guaranteed win for Wisconsin if that was going to be the scenario. But if I was, let's say, I'm just going to say like a Duke, if they get a 1 seed or a 2 seed or whoever it may be, I'd be like, man, our second round matches against Wisconsin, 2 really good guards in the backcourt, a big man. Yeah, I think they would present some challenges. I wouldn't discredit Wisconsin if they get a low seed in this tournament. I think that could be a dangerous team. Sure, I'm a little biased in that. But honestly, you look at this team and you look at the wins that they had and you look at the makeup of this team. They can score. Do they count on the 3 a lot? Yes, they do. But when they're on, it's going to be tough to outscore them. I can't wait till we get to the tournament. I have a feeling when Selection Sunday is here and the brackets are released, there's probably going to be a lot of Badgers fans saying, well, that's too, disrespectful to Wisconsin and such. I don't think it's going to affect Wisconsin's mindset. They're probably going to embrace it. They're probably going to say, all right, we've been here before. Everybody's kind of doubted us already this year. We've gone up against some really good teams into their environments, and we've beaten them. So, but yeah, if Wisconsin maybe doesn't get to a Sweet 16 this year, I'm sure there'll be a lot of people like, all right, great. We win some games in the regular season, we get to the tournaments, but we're not advancing in a tournament deep enough. Numbers don't lie. You'd have a case for that. So, all right. We got, what's this? Rod from EC says about the Olympics, I'm invested. Watched an entire curling match last night, something that I've never done. Mixed doubles teams from Duluth took the silver. All right, let's take a quick break. Plenty more to get to, though. Join in on the convo, all right? We'll be right back in just a couple minutes. When you need glass done right, trust the local experts at Post Glass and Mirror in Chippewa Falls. From residential and commercial glass to mirrors, windows, and custom solutions, they deliver quality craftsmanship and dependable service every single step of the way. Whether it's a repair, a replacement, or a custom project, Post Glass and Mirror has the experience that you can count on. Learn more or request service online at postglassandmirror.com. Post Glass and Mirror, clear solutions, trusted results. What is that? Oh, no. I thought we had a little bit of a nugget there. Kind of mentioned it last hour and such when we were talking a little bit of green and gold and such, but there is a report that the Packers have hired a pass rush specialist from Vanderbilt. And you look at his experience. The coach's name is Will Smart, by the way. I just wonder if this is a quality control type of hire, because he doesn't have a ton of experience. And I mean, they already got DeMarcus Covington as their defensive line coach and such, but Will Smart, let me bring this up here. So he just got done playing in 2021. So his playing experience, 2019 to 2021, was with Wake Forest. Began his coaching career as a graduate assistant in 2024, but then joined Vanderbilt as a pass rush specialist this past season. So reportedly, the Packers are bringing him aboard to their coaching staff. I feel like this is probably a quality control assistant position. I could be completely wrong. Maybe it's an assistant position coach and such, but it just, I wouldn't expect it to be a major type of coaching hire. But we still haven't really heard anything about the new quarterbacks coach. Like, who's it going to be? Is it going to be Luke Getsy? Yeah, there were some reports and such of who they interviewed in that. But, again, I think it's going to be one of those. They're going to officially announce it all at the same time. All these position coaches at the same time. I think that's probably what's going to happen. I do wonder if they're just kind of waiting and seeing after maybe the Seahawks, if there's any interest in Adam Stenavich. Because if he moves on, then obviously Green Bay is going to be looking for a new offensive coordinator, and obviously there's other staffs that are still being filled out. So I think, just give it a little bit, because there's still some potential of their position coaches maybe getting jobs elsewhere. So there was one thing I had seen from a few days ago, though, that maybe would be an interesting option, maybe as an assistant quarterbacks coach or such. But from CBS Sports, they said Matt Schaub. Remember Matt Schaub, the quarterback, Texans, a little bit. That's where he kind of really made his name. Was it Atlanta, backup, and then Texans and such. But apparently he's getting interest to be an NFL quarterbacks coach. Now, I don't know if this would be something that LaFleur would kind of gauge in. Obviously, Sean Mannion becoming a former quarterback, became a quarterbacks coach with Green Bay after a year of kind of on-the-job training with Tom Clements and such, and now Sean Mannion, obviously offensive coordinator with the Philadelphia Eagles. But Matt LaFleur was an offensive assistant for the Texans from 2008 to 2009 when Matt Schaub was their starting quarterback. So that's something in there too. LaFleur was the quarterbacks coach in Atlanta. Schaub returned to Atlanta in 2016. Possibly a connection there, possibly, or maybe you bring him in just because I don't think has any coaching experience right now. Maybe similar to a Sean Mannion type of role. You bring him aboard as an assistant quarterbacks coach, or just get him in, and then eventually he gets promoted with an assistant. I don't know. Just I saw that, trying to connect some dots here and trying to figure that out too. So, but other than that, it's been kind of quiet so far. And I think we're all just kind of wait and see approach now with Seattle. What are they going to do with offensive coordinator? And if Stanovich is a legit option, like it seemed like he was last year, then, Green Bay's probably looking at, okay, who would the options be for an offensive coordinator? Because, again, it's not a play calling position, right? It's not going to come with play calling. I know a lot of fans would like to see it come with play calling, but it's not. Maybe it's Luke Getsy who's already on staff. Maybe it's a Jason Vrabel who's on staff. Honestly, if let's just play a what if. If Stanovich does leave and say he gets Seattle's offensive coordinator job, I wouldn't get hopes up that it's going to be an outside hire for offensive coordinator, especially kind of this late in the game. And the fact that it's not a play calling position, I think it's going to be straight up promotion from within. And I think the two most likely candidates is going to be Luke Getsy or Jason Vrabel. I think it's going to be one of those two. And then you kind of plug in different guys. You bring in different guys to fill those roles. And maybe not even, if Luke Getsy, I think, is still an option for quarterback's coach. So I could see a scenario where, okay, Luke Getsy's the quarterback's coach and Jason Vrabel gets promoted to offensive coordinator, or, maybe it's Connor Lewis who's on staff as assistant quarterback's coach at one time. Maybe he gets promoted. Luke Getsy. There's other avenues. I feel like offensive coordinator is going to be the one that if Steno does leave, offensive coordinator is going to get promoted from within. Now, if Steno leaves, and let's say Kubiak takes some guys with him, the offensive coordinator, now the head coach for the Raiders. Let's say he takes some guys from that Seattle staff with him. What if he takes the offensive line coach with him? Now, that would be like a parallel move and such, so I don't know, but you'd wonder if Steno would take a Luke Butkus with him, because I feel like a lot of Packers fans still want a new offensive line coach. I feel like right now that is not in the cards. I feel like we would have heard something by now, or we would have seen a move at this point. Maybe we could be surprised. Maybe they're just doing a really good job at hiding it in that, but it kind of feels like they're running it back with a lot of their offensive coaches, obviously outside of Sean Mannion and their former wide receivers coach. That's just where my gut's at this point. So somebody had texted into an am I wrong? Am I wrong? Am I wrong for thinking that all of this talk about Sam Darnold being better than Jordan Love is poppycock? That is from Alex on our texting line. I have seen that. I have seen a lot of that talk out there. I mean, I get it to a point because it's right after the Super Bowl. Sam Darnold wins the Super Bowl. So then, all the talk is Sam Darnold top 10 quarterback? Is Sam Darnold better than this guy? Is he better than that guy? Is he better than Josh Allen because he was in the same draft and now he's won a Super Bowl before Josh Allen? You're going to get stuff like that all across the board, okay? I think when it boils down to it, and this is nothing to take away from Sam Darnold, okay? Nothing to take away from him. I think all things being equal, because I think a lot of it depends on offensive systems and such and supporting casts, okay? I truly believe that. All things being equal, you have to pick one quarterback. Who are you picking? I'm probably still picking Jordan Love. But that's not a discredit. That is not a knock on Sam Darnold at all. What he did this year and what he has done the last couple of years to resurrect his career is awesome. It's a fantastic story. It's a great story. I don't know if I can put him at ahead of Love. Is he a top 10 now? We have to go through a list because that's all over the place now too. So, all right, we got to take another break. Good though, am I wrong? I like that one, Alex. Appreciate it. All right, we'll take a quick break. Back with more coming up in just a couple minutes. If your vehicle needs some auto body work done, speak slower, Dan, and you're not sure where to go, make it easy on yourself. The decision's pretty simple. Go visit our good friends at Superior Auto Body in Eau Claire. Superior Auto Body's been around since 1971, you guys. They know what they're doing over there, all right? So maybe you need maybe you got into a little bit of a fender bender, maybe you hit a deer, or whatever the case may be. If you just need that auto body work done, give them a call today, 715-834-7707. Nick and the crew over there, they'll get that vehicle back to looking pretty darn sharp. All right, they're located at 301 North Farwell Street in Eau Claire. It's Superior Auto Body, our presenting partners for Backyard Dreams. All right, you guys ready to maybe win an oil change from AJM Automotive in Eau Claire? AJM Automotive opening up a second location in Eau Claire. So they said, hey, they reached out and said, hey, let's give away some free oil changes for the occasion. So we'll do one today, we'll do one tomorrow, and we'll wrap it up on Friday when we do our AJM Automotive Pump the Brakes Full Throttle. So since John, big Blue Gold fan, Blue Gold softball, helping out, coaching there, daughter plays for them too. So we're going to do some Blue Gold trivia. We'll text the answer in to our Shoe Doctors bullpen line, okay, 715-830-1912, or you can go on the YouTube stream. That's fine as well. And I'm sure we'll get multiple answers. I'll collect them all at the top of the hour, so I'll give you from now until 9 o'clock. We'll collect them all, right answer, and then we'll do the automatic pick online. We'll put all those in, and it'll just automatically pick the winner. So your trivia question to win, potentially, a free oil change from our good friends at AJM Automotive in Eau Claire. What year did Blue Gold softball win the NCAA National Championship? What year did Blue Gold softball win the NCAA National Championship? All right. Text your answers, 715-830-1912. Or again, you can chime in on the YouTube stream if you'd rather do that. Those are the two ways to send me your answers. What year did Blue Gold softball win their NCAA championship? Okay. Clock is ticking. Tick, 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 tick. All right. Send those on in. Coming up at just past 9 o'clock, we'll chat with Hunter Baumgardt. We'll get back to some Brewers chat with him. Hunter, Brewers reporter for Fox Sports 920. We'll get his thoughts on, obviously, the Caleb Durbin trade. We've got pitchers and catchers reporting coming up here, too. So, baseball prospectus, the PECOTA rankings, or I keep saying rankings, the PECOTA projections are out. And again, for the Brewers, like every other year, not the greatest. About a 500, okay? They're about a 500. If we're rounding it, it's 80 wins and 82 losses. They're giving the Brewers a 10.4% chance to repeat as division champions, a 20% chance as a wild card, and I mean, just playoff chances overall, you just add the two. So about a 30.7% chance of making the postseason. They give the Brewers a 1.2 chance of making the World Series. They do have them finishing second in the division to the Cubbies. But if we kind of base it off of every other team in the National League, they do not have the Brewers making the postseason this year. They clearly love the Dodgers, and I mean, it's hard not to look at what they've got and say, duh. 22% chance to go to the World Series. That is by far the highest one across Major League Baseball. The second closest one is the Mariners at a 13% chance. But if we leave it in the National League, they've got Atlanta with an 8.5% chance, going to the World Series. The Cubs are third best odds in the National League to go to the World Series at 7.6. Mets are 5.6. Philly is a 4.2. San Francisco, actually, they've got picked third in the NL West, but the second best odds to go to the World Series. So Dodgers, Atlanta, Mets, Phillies, Giants are the 5 teams with the, again, this is from the PECOTA rankings, I keep saying rankings, PECOTA projections. Those 5 teams, according to them, have the best percentages of getting to the World Series over the Brewers from the National League. Again, it's just projections, but it's one that a lot of people kind of look at, pay attention to, and I'm definitely going to be talking to Brandon about this coming up, a little bit later on and such too. So, but we'll get maybe Hunter's thoughts on it coming up just past 9 o'clock as well. See if he had a chance to look at it and that. But oh, never mind. We got a few texts coming in here too. So, all right. Oh, I wanted to bring up. So they do have some projections for pitchers, and I honestly like them better than what Baseball Reference has for the pitching department, because they at least have 4 Brewers pitchers pitching over 100 innings, where they didn't have Brandon Woodruff and Miz pitching over 100 innings. But they've got Brandon Woodruff at 135 innings pitched, averaging about 5.2 innings per game. Jacob Mizorowski, 124 innings pitched. You're looking at about 4.8 innings per game. Quinn Priester, they've got projected to pitch the most amount of innings, 140. Chad Patrick would have the second most, 137. Logan Henderson, 73. Robert Gasser coming in at 90. Kyle Harrison, 78. The one thing that was kind of interesting to me on this was how, their projections based off shortstop. Who's going to be playing the majority of time at shortstop? They've got Jet Williams at that spot. Joey Ortiz, they're projecting to play third base 70% of the time. Jet Williams, shortstop, at 60% of the time. David Hamilton, 25% at third base, 15% at second, 15% at short. Bryce Terang, 80% at second, 10% at short. It feels like almost the shortstop one might be a shortstop by committee, kind of, sort of. Not a whole lot, but kind of. Elsewhere, they got Jackson Churio, 55% of his time is going to be in left field. Garrett Mitchell, 50% in center. The only one for the outfield that's got more is Sal Frelick, kind of locked in at right field at 60% of the time. Christian Yelich, 75% of the DH time. It's Yelich and William Contreras and Bryce Terang that have the highest, and Andrew Vaughn, the highest percentages at their certain positions. They're locked into those. Contreras locked in at catcher, obviously. Andrew Vaughn's got the highest percentage, 80% at first base. I should say he's tied with Bryce Terang at 80% too. So, but I'm a little surprised they do have Joey Ortiz as a 70% for third base, but again, it's just projections. We'll see how it kind of plays out here in spring training. But the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel did do a quick chat with Pat Murphy leading into spring training and pitchers and catchers reporting and such. And obviously one of the talks entering spring training is going to be contracts. Is he going to get a new contract and such? And just a little bit here from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, it says, one of the storylines to watch heading into the offseason was whether the Brewers and Pat Murphy would agree on a contract extension. As the 2-time defending National League Manager of the Year, who's led the Brewers to consecutive Central Division titles and the best record in the majors last season, the 67-year-old certainly would seem to have earned the right to enter the season with a raise and another 3 years tacked onto his deal. But so far, that doesn't appear to be the case. And if he isn't talking about it, at least for now. The Brewers, meanwhile, have yet to announce anything. Murphy said, quote, "This isn't about me. I've got a locker. I called in yesterday and I asked if I got a locker. And if I got a locker, so as long as I've got a locker and my Slippy Jerry's, his favorite Adidas sneakers, he jokingly refers to as slip-ons for geriatrics, I have a place to sit. That's all that matters. Today I have a locker. When you've got the pink slip at the top of your locker, that's when you've got to make alternate plans. Right now, I'm not making any other plans. Contracts issues aside, he said, I'm blessed. I had some trips, came back to Milwaukee 3 times, was in Wisconsin a bunch. I'm blessed. There's no complaining from me. So, a couple other stuff that he talked about and such. One, losing Freddie Peralta. The question was, you've seen Corbin Burns and Devin Williams be traded away in your first 2 seasons as a manager, so you are well aware of how the Brewers operate. Even still, how tough was it to say goodbye to Freddie Peralta? He said, I think this hurts as bad as any of them because the longer you spend with the guy, the closer you get. I just love the kid. I love who he is. I love what he's about. I love him as a person. I love him as a player. I love him as a leader. I love him in so many ways. It's amazing. I was privileged to be a part of his career. I was privileged to stand by and watch every pitch he's thrown in 8 years. Not having that will be a little bit different. Yeah, I don't think I'd like that number 51. I don't think I'd like that number 51 to be given out anytime soon, referring to somebody else wearing his jersey. So, knowing Woodruff is still in rotation, no doubt was part of the trade calculus for the Brewers. That said, do you have any benchmarks in your head for Woodruff this season? Like 25 starts, 150 innings. Murphy says that I don't do that stuff. You know me. Success is defined in a lot of different ways. There's no doubt having Woody helps, but there's very few staffs that have one veteran, and we only have one. So that's going to be a big responsibility on Woody, but also for those young guys to act like older guys and step up because it's not easy. He said, he was asked, you're bullish on Joey Ortiz having a bounce-back year offensively entering camp. Will Jet Williams focus on competing with him at shortstop? Murphy said Williams is going to be looked at everywhere to see where he can help. He's still a younger player. He's not on the 40-man, but we all know he's a part of our future success for sure. And we're going to look at him wherever we need him, wherever he can help us. We'll try to figure out first who he is as a player with our own evaluation, and then from there, see what our needs are and see if that matches up, and we can make a quality decision where he helps us. Maybe like Joey Ortiz, where he helps us 1 year in this spot and the next year in another spot. And then finally, he was asked, the Brewers are 3-time defending champions in the division, which looks to be more competitive top to bottom in 2026. How does this group look to you this year? Murphy said, the Central was great last year and proved to be with 3 teams making the playoffs. And all those teams improved. The Pirates improved. I know the Cardinals are selling off players, but they still have great young players and great young pitching. They have a great farm system. I know that because I watch those guys play, and I respect everybody in the division. I know a lot of teams have made some big impact acquisitions, and I respect that. We have to stop worrying about what other people do, and we've got to worry just about ourselves and what we're doing and how we are going to play this game. So, again, that's just a little bit from Pat Murphy to the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be back to wrap up the third hour coming up after these quick words. All right, we just got a few minutes left to the top of the hour. Final call for your answers. If you missed it, if you want to get your hat in the ring for a free oil change from AJM Automotive, you got to answer this quick trivia question. Text it or hit us up on the YouTube video stream where Zach is hanging out with us. But the question is, what year did the Blue Gold softball team win their national championship? What year did the Blue Gold softball team win their national championship? Hit me up again on that texting line or on the video stream with your answer. And then coming up in the next hour after we talk with Hunter, we'll announce the winner. So we got multiple people chiming in. May have multiple answers of the correct answer, so we'll just put them in the random picker on the good old internet, and they'll select the winner for us. So, but send those on over. This is your last call. Last call to send them on over. Speaking of YouTube, since I have it up right now, Zach says, Darnold is not better than Love, and I don't even think it's close. And I'm not saying that Sam's not good. I just think Love is better. If Bo Nix would not have gotten hurt, I firmly believe that the Broncos would have been to the Super Bowl. Am I wrong? No, I would agree with you. I would agree with you. I think Denver would have been the representative for the AFC. So then there's a what if. You'd had two really, and New England plays solid defense too, but you would have had two of the maybe Denver's defense was really good all season long too. How would that have played out? So, but okay, so continue to send me your Mike Star Markets Am I Wrongs. All right, send those on over. We'll get back to some more coming up in the next hour. Also, send me your what's the one word that you would use to describe Greg Gard as a coach. All right, as a coach. What's the one word you would use to describe? We've had a few people chiming in saying underrated. That's probably the most popular one that's been thrown out there. But if you have another one, or maybe a short phrase that you would use to describe Greg Gard as a coach, what would it be? So think about that for a hot minute and send those on over, okay? I want to talk some more Olympics, or I should say I want to talk some Olympics in the next hour, a little deep dive. Have you started to get into it? Maybe not. Maybe closer the further it gets in. You know, the women's USA hockey team yesterday with a dominating win over Canada, blanking them, shutting out Canada. I think, that's the first time ever Canada women's hockey team has been shut out in the Olympics. So, I mean, just an absolute dominant performance from the U.S. women's hockey team. But, and what's your favorite, kind of an informal poll question here, but what's your favorite winter Olympic event to watch? Is it hockey? Is it something else? If it is hockey, maybe say it's hockey, but this is the second, because I feel like hockey might be the top one. I think curling's probably going to be up there too. Maybe it's skiing because of, Ben Loomis, downhill jumping and such. But what's your favorite winter Olympic event to watch? Let's just do a little fun informal poll with that, okay? Really quick, let's do a medal count here to see where everything's at. In terms of total, we've got 13 for Norway, and they also lead in gold. They've got 7. So Norway right now leading with 13 total medals and 7 gold medals. Team USA, they are third in the overall count. They've got 10 with 3 golds. Their breakdowns, 3 golds, 5 silvers, 2 bronze for Team USA. So, all right. Shot clock's going to cut me off in about a minute. So we'll kick off the final hour, the final quarter on this Wednesday morning, talking to Hunter Baumgardt, Brewers reporter for Fox Sports 920. Get his reaction, his thoughts now that we're about 48 hours removed from the Caleb Durbin trade. So we'll get his take on that. And then with pitchers and catchers reporting, kind of take a look at what maybe he's going to watch for, what he's paying attention to with spring training, what he thinks is maybe the top storyline or storylines when it comes to this Brewers squad. Looking to repeat as division champions, but definitely have had some roster turnover. So, and then maybe get his thoughts on who he thinks is going to play third base. So, Surveyor, I will have to read your vent coming up a little bit later on in the next hour here because I don't have time to get through it. So, but let's I'll get to that coming up a little bit later on. Let's just say Surveyor's venting towards people who are still dissing Jordan Love or questioning Jordan Love. All right. 3 in, one more to go. We got some news updates, and we'll kick off the next hour, the final quarter, talking some Brewers. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. It is the final hour, kicking off right now, final quarter on this Wednesday morning. Thanks for hanging out with us all morning long, whether you're listening on the radio dials, online, stream app, Alexa devices, multiple different ways for you to be tuning in. We've got some text to get to here in just a little bit. But I want to kick off this hour talking with our good friend, Mr. Hunter Baumgardt, joining us this morning, Brewers reporter, Fox Sports 920. Happy, first of all, Hunter, happy pitchers and catchers reporting, dude. It's baseball season's here, man.
Yes, it is always one of the best days of the year when you can say that the pitchers and catchers are reporting, and I'm sure the Brewers are going to be posting very soon that first pop of the glove from William Contreras or whoever they decide to post. So very much looking forward to that and happy that it's here.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, let's go back a couple days because we're about 48 hours now since the news dropped, Hunter, about Caleb Durbin being traded, essentially almost like their whole third base depth at that point. What was your first reaction when you saw that news with Siegler, Monasterio, and Caleb Durbin going over to Boston?
Yeah, it was surprising. I think that just initially when I first saw the news, I was surprised that Caleb Durbin was being traded. This is a guy who debuted April 18th of last year, took the team by storm and was really clutch throughout the season and into the playoffs as well. He really kind of made a name for himself, obviously finished top 3 in NL Rookie of the Year voting. He played really good defensively over there at third base and really proved that he could be a big leaguer. And so when they traded him away, I was puzzled and still am to some extent. Now, you dig into what they got in return and the pitchers and the upside that you have there and what David Hamilton can do, and you can kind of see a little bit of what they're thinking. But at first, I was surprised. And I think the most surprising part is this isn't a typical Brewers trade. They don't trade a guy with 6 years of control left who just made his major league debut, who they acquired in the trade for Devin Williams. Usually the trades they make, as we know, are the 1 year left on your contract and you're going to make big money. The Corbin Burns, the Josh Hader, the Devin Williams, the Freddie Peralta. So this was not a typical trade. It's really close to spring training as well. So at first, I was surprised.
Yeah, no doubt. I was like, we were on the air when that popped through, and I'm like, holy moly, I need a minute to kind of catch my breath and such. So, the return, it's Kyle, right? The left-handed pitcher coming in return. That's
Yep.
the big prize on this one. What can you tell us about about the Brewers' new left-handed pitcher?
Yeah, that is. In order for this trade to be worth it, in my thought and opinion, he needs to pan out and be a significant part of what the Brewers do going forward in that rotation. This is a guy who, when he made his debut in August of 2023, he was the top prospect in the San Francisco Giants system. So this is a guy who has the pedigree, third-round pick in 2020. He's got team control through 2030. He went to Boston last year in the Rafael Devers deal, so you know that obviously Boston thought highly of him if they're getting him back in such a deal like that when that trade was made in June. The interesting part about Harrison is he hasn't quite figured it out at the major league level. That 4.39 ERA sticks out. And he has kind of that four-seam fastball, kind of throws that slider curve hybrid. Still kind of looking for that third pitch, but last year in San Francisco, he was all over the place. He was bullpen, he was starting, and then he went to Boston and he went to their AAA team there and really felt like he developed a little more than what he had in the Giants system. I think the Giants kind of let him be instead of really working with him. And then he felt the difference in Boston. And I got to think that the Brewers organization is going to be even a step up when it comes to pitching development, as we know with Chris Hook and Jim Henderson in the pitching lab and everything they do with their pitchers. So I'm excited about this because it's, of course, a lefty, which you love, but it's also a guy who has so much potential and was, a top guy who the Brewers can get into their system and say, okay, how can we make this guy the best he can be? And how can we bring out that top prospect type talent in this organization?
So looking ahead, maybe for the future, staying with the pitching, Hunter, they got a lot of arms under control for a long time. Outside of Brandon Woodruff, you're looking at guys, I think Harrison's 2029, other guys are like 2030 and above. Do you think that's part of the long-term plan for this Brewers team is like they maybe just want to, okay, let's get our starters, instead of going into maybe every year, every couple of years, trying to add a starter or figuring out that, all right, let's have some young guys under control for a while and just have that kind of set in stone. Do you think this was a game plan from the Brewers, that was a focus that they wanted to try to build on?
It sure seems like it. And I wonder how much of it had to do with last year when so many pitchers went down and all of a sudden you were Alvin Rodriguez and Tyler Alexander pitching in games in April last year, right out of the gates, right? And I wonder if that kind of shock to the system for the Milwaukee Brewers and the injuries they sustained early in the season last year kind of said, okay, we need to make sure we have a bunch of talent that we can pull from. And boy, do they ever. I mean, they, like you said, they're almost all under team control. The only pitcher really in that like top 10 pitchers in the organization that's not under contract after this season is Brandon Woodruff. He'll be your opening day starter, you got to think. And then, after that, it's Quinn Priester, it's Jacob Mizorowski. You wonder how Kyle Harrison and Brandon Sproat now both factor into what this team is going to do. There's so many different options the Brewers have. And as the saying goes, you can never have enough pitching. That it feels like that has been the strategy this offseason for the Brewers. And in really just in the last year or so after getting Quinn Priester, Chad Patrick is also a guy who's going to obviously factor into this. You still got Aaron Ashby. Is he going to be more middle relief? I have a feeling he stays in the bullpen because at some point you're not going to have a 10-guy rotation. So at some point you start putting some of those guys in the bullpen. Does a Logan Henderson start to be a guy who you see at the bullpen? Or do they maybe send a couple of these guys down and say, okay, you're just going to work in AAA until we need you because there's only so many spots on the roster. So that'll be a fascinating thing to see. But you look at all of these pitchers and the Brewers, the Brewers rotation, the Brewers depth at the pitching spot, it might be second to none right now in baseball. And the great thing is it's not just now, it's for the future. So this kind of window, if you look at the Brewers, and honestly, they've had a window since 2018, so I don't even know if we can call it windows anymore. They're just sustaining success. But with these trades and acquiring these types of players and these types of pitchers specifically, it feels like it just keeps widening that window because at the end of the day, you need pitching.
Mm-hmm. We're talking to Hunter Baumgardt, Brewers reporter for Fox Sports, Wisconsin 920. So, the question that I think a lot of Brewers fans have now is who's going to play third base? And I don't know if you had a chance to look at some of the projections from baseball perspectives, but I thought it was interesting. They have Joey Ortiz 70% of the time at third base. Is that the likely option? Jet Williams is in there. Obviously, David Hamilton's on there too, but is it going to be a by committee approach? Does your gut tell you maybe do they still have a move left in them before spring training opens up?
Well, when they first made this deal, I was kind of like, well, you got to have something else, right? Like something else has to be coming down the line. You literally traded away your entire third base depth chart, and you just don't see that very often. Like it was one thing to see the initial report that Durbin was going to Boston, and then it's like, oh yeah, then we're throwing in Monasterio and Siegler. And so to me, it's like, okay, so then, yeah, who is going to play third base? And it's fascinating because what were we asking literally this day last year? Who's going to play third base? And Caleb Durbin definitely kind of obviously didn't take it opening day. Vinny Capra had a great spring and opened with the Brewers and was your starting third baseman, actually homered on opening day last year. But then obviously tailed off. Caleb Durbin played most of the time there. I think the Brewers this is going to be fascinating because a couple factors here. One, the World Baseball Classic is happening this spring, and Joey Ortiz is part of Team Mexico, Bryce Terang part of Team USA. There is going to be a big chunk of spring training where those guys are not going to be there. That means you get to see a lot of Jet Williams, a lot of David Hamilton, a lot of, you could even factor in Brock Wilken and Cooper Pratt, although I don't think they'll break camp with the guys, but you're going to see more of that, right? More of those couple of guys. I got to think if that's the projection where we're at 70%, Joey Ortiz at third. He obviously performed better offensively, Joey Ortiz did, when he was at third base. I got to think that they definitely will consider moving him over to third, and then maybe Jet Williams, whose natural positions are shortstop, second base, outfield. And I think you'll see him in all of those spots in the games in spring training in Arizona. But I think put in that as natural position at shortstop. Because if you say to Jet Williams, okay, we're going to not only put you on the opening day roster, you're going to make your major league debut, but you're also going to play a position that you've hardly ever played, if ever, at third base. I don't know if that goes as well. So I would think that it's going to be a little bit by committee, but the most likely outcome is maybe a Jet Williams at short, Joey Ortiz at third. The other option here, Bryce Terang at short, Joey Ortiz at third, and Jet Williams at second. So there's a lot of moving parts here. And what stood out to me from when we talked to Matt Arnold a couple of days ago was he was very much talking about the infield as a whole and wouldn't really talk about third base specifically. Like when he was asked about third base, it was like, we have a lot of permutations is the word he used for how they could line up that infield. So I think they're taking it more of a approach to second, short, and third. What are the players we want out there? And then we'll find positions for him. David Hamilton is going to have to get time as well. I mean, he has a significant major league experience. The last couple of years, he's played about 90 to 100 games. Now, the numbers don't stick out to you, but he's kind of that kind of scrappy, fast. I mean, the speed is what jumps out to you, 95th percentile when it comes to speed. But I think you're at your best if he's in that Monasterio role where he's the utility guy, he's coming off the bench, and you have somebody who can man those other positions consistently.
I think I saw you that you asked Matt Arnold about Sal Frelick, any potential there. Now, Sal Frelick, he's the best player of all time. He's my favorite player, so that's why I got to keep saying Salvatore is the best player out there. But what was Matt Arnold's response about maybe Sal Frelick getting some reps back at third base like we saw a couple of years ago?
Yeah, he was asked about that. That was interesting. He didn't shut it down. He basically said, yeah, when we get to Arizona, we'll have some discussions and we're open to that. Obviously, that was an experiment. 2024 was the big spring training where they kind of experimented. And that goes back to, this is like the third year in a row where third base is the big, and that again goes back to why I'm so surprised that they made this deal, because it finally seemed that third base was kind of taken care of. Now, is Caleb Durbin your quintessential third baseman who can hit the ball out of the ballpark at any time and just crushes baseballs? No, not necessarily. And that's what Brock Wilken is, but Brock Wilken hasn't played at AAA yet. So there's some time that it's going to take for him. But look, I mean, Sal Frelick, I think Matt Arnold said, I expect him to be starting in the outfield, and he's a Gold Glove caliber outfielder, obviously. So I would too, but I wouldn't be shocked if you just, one of these couple of days, sometime in the spring, he's not playing in the World Baseball Classic, so he'll be with the Brewers in Arizona for the duration. I do wonder if you see him a couple times there, but again, the Brewers are at their best when that guy's in right field, and you find a way to put other guys at third base.
Hunter, what is a good projection or expectation for Jackson Chourio, do you think, this year? I know last year a lot of fans were thinking, hey, 30-30, his rookie year, he was a 20-20 guy, and he did hit it. Obviously went through some injuries a little bit last year, but entering his third year, still an incredibly young man. What do you think is a realistic expectation for Jackson Chourio entering his third year?
Yeah, I mean, this is where you start to see, that kind of that we've seen kind of the stardom that he has and the clutch gene and just the natural talent this guy has. This is where you start to see the maturation into a kind of star to superstar, right? Like if he's going to be a superstar, this is when it kind of starts to happen. And his first 2 years have been incredibly impressive. And now he's got 2 full years under his belt at the major league level. I think that's a very significant thing when you talk about a guy who's continuing to mature, continuing to learn the game at the major league level for how young he was. I mean, obviously when he debuted. So this is a guy, I think a realistic expectation is to continue to build up. I think health is a big part of it. Obviously he missed some of last year with that hamstring. And so I have a feeling that if he stays healthy, those numbers are going to be even better than what you saw last year. I think they should be. I think the stolen base numbers could go up. I think the power numbers could go up as well. I think this team as a whole is looking to be better at stolen bases this year. It's interesting because they stole a lot of bases in 2024. 2025, it kind of went down. Now they revamped their coaching staff a little bit. And I wonder how much Spencer Allen, who's now the first base coach, is going to be helping with the base running and maybe get them back to where they want to be, because that's part of how they play it. I wonder how much Chourio is a part of that as well. So as long as he stays healthy, you can expect more than, I would think, 20 and 20. And if he does that, then you're starting to talk about bona fide star, superstar, that kind of talk, because it's in there. We know what's in there. And this is the third year in the league is kind of where you start to see that hopefully take off.
You mentioned coaching and such, and I know you recently talked to Daniel Vogelbach, and I want everybody to go watch it on YouTube if they haven't had a chance to listen or to watch it. But you got a former player coming back to the organization and such. How much of an impact do you think he's going to have with this lineup, with these guys, and the offensive side of things?
Yeah, this is an interesting hire. One that did, I knew he was a special assistant to hitting in Pittsburgh last year. I mean, 2024 he played his last major league game. 2025 he's already in the coaching ranks as a special assistant with the Pirates, and then here he is as assistant hitting coach with the Brewers. What Matt Arnold had said when Daniel Vogelbach was hired was, look, I mean, this guy played so many different roles during his career, whether it was off the bench, whether it was starting, whatever it happened to be, Laking come in, as a pinch hitter, whatever it is. And he's like, that can help when you're a coach, helping guys in whatever circumstances they may find themselves in. And when I was talking to Daniel Vogelbach, it really made sense why they hired this guy. It's not like he was the best hitter in the world. It's not like he was the best hitter on the Brewers when he was here in 2020 and 2021. But he really, it seems, and when talking to him, he knows how to work with people. He knows what's most important. He wants to learn not only how the players play, but them as people. He mentioned that a couple times when I was asking him about how do you prepare for spring training into a new organization. Obviously some familiar faces, but obviously a lot of new players since you were there, 5 years ago. And he's like, I've been watching tape, but I also I can't wait to get to spring and spring training and just learn these guys and what makes them go and what they like to do and what they prefer. And when you have a coach like that, I think that very much bodes well. And he also said, I'm just going to learn. I want to learn from not only the other assistant coaches, but also obviously Pat Murphy as well. And he loved playing for him. Now he gets to coach under him. So I think this is kind of the under the radar hire, and he was kind of a fan favorite. I mean, I know people liked him when he was playing for the Brewers, and I think you'll like him as a coach and when you hear the interview as well.
He's Hunter Baumgardt, Brewers reporter for Fox Sports Radio, Wisconsin. Make sure you're following Hunter on Facebook, on the X, Hunter B on air, and then go make sure you can check out his interview with Daniel Vogelbach on there on the YouTube station as well. Hunter, again, big thanks for joining us here in the Chippewa Valley and spreading your wealth of knowledge with the Milwaukee Brewers. Happy pitchers and catchers reporting, and looking forward to catching up with you again throughout the baseball season, man.
100%. Anytime. Always enjoy it. Thanks so much for having me, Dan. And yeah, happy baseball season, everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, you take care. We'll talk soon, okay, sir?
You bet. Thanks, Dan.
You got it. There you go. Hunter Baumgardt, again, Fox Sports Radio, Wisconsin Brewers reporter, joining us here this morning. All right, we got to take a quick break, but we got plenty more to get to here, so stick around. We'll be right back after these few words. Big thanks again to Hunter for hopping on and chatting some Brewers with us this morning. If you missed any portion of that convo, we'll put it up in our podcast later on this morning. Switching gears here just a little bit as we approach the bottom of the hour. Got the Winter Olympics going on. Zach says it's a toss-up between snowboarding and hockey for his favorite ones to watch when it comes to the Winter Olympics. Have you, Luke, been getting into the Winter Olympics yet? Has it? You just wait? Hardcore.
Oh yeah, I've been watching Gold Zone all morning.
Real for real?
Oh yeah,
okay.
yeah. I mean, Gold Zone has been like.
When you say Gold Zone, I think of Nathaniel Hackett now.
Oh yeah,
for Packer stuff. So.
Little bit different from that. Yeah. Way more competent. Yeah. When Peacock brought out the Gold Zone a few years ago, it was just like. It's like manna from heaven. I mean, if anyone doesn't have Peacock, doesn't have it's Red Zone for the Olympics. Mm-hmm. Which I mean, if I had Red Zone, of course, I would be watching that all the time too. I just don't like. I already got the Peacock subscription, but yeah, like because in the morning it's perfect. You get up, I start doing work from home around 7:30 in the morning. Well, given that it's 7 hours ahead, the Olympics, so of course the action is already happening. So like. Turn it on this morning, and there are the Moguls finals happening. And just watch it right there. I have my phone sitting on the side, and there's biathlon and Moguls sharing the screen. And then you get like the quad box. Scott Hansen comes in, and Andrew Siciliano comes in, and yeah, it's wonderful. So, the thing I like about the Olympics in general, it's like the NCAA tournament first 2 days. There's a lot happening, and that there's a certain energy. At least I get that vibe off of that of like there's this going on and this going on and this going on and like this big kind of community of like all sorts of sports happening all at once. So yeah, I've been following all sorts of stuff and I'm not even sure if I have one particular favorite. It's just like I mean maybe curling because there's something about that. Maybe because there's a local connection, obviously with we got the curling club and then the Olympians are from not that far away. But yeah, and anything that's gold medal, sure. I'm in.
Yeah. Very impressive win by the women's hockey team yesterday against Canada. So, I mean, they just look like a juggernaut right now.
Wow.
So,
now, will that hold up is the other question. Right. The men's tournament is going to be fascinating. Like, as much as all things Olympics have been happening, I keep forgetting. Team USA has not won the men's gold in a very long time. And Canada's looming out there. It's better than them, so yeah. It's been a blast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we've been tuning in a little bit more. I know I've said before that I'm not the biggest Olympics fan, but it's been on once in a while and kind of getting into it. And I think the deeper it gets, the more
it's familiarity.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like once you get it, like even if it was like 2 weeks ago, I'd be like, yeah, hey, cool, they're coming, and then once you're in, you're like. Okay, then you start to get in the ride, and suddenly you're all in on Twizzles and everything before you know it.
Right.
Triple Salchow.
And then, of course, you're hoping for the rivalries like the hockey. Like I'm hoping for the men's USA, Canada, all that stuff too. So yeah, you're crossing your fingers for that stuff for sure. So
I see Ben Loomis this morning. Thought I saw 17th.
Yeah, I know he was this morning because that's what. He placed 17th in the Nordic Combine. Okay. So. Yeah, 17th. So, yeah, I remember Justice saying Monday it was this morning he was competing.
Okay,
so
cool.
All right, yeah. So if you want, the rest of you could chime in with what events you're paying attention to. Maybe it is like Nordic because of Ben Loomis and Eau Claire native and such. So send those on over too. But happy, by the way. When do the Twins? Are you pitchers and catchers today? Like the Brewers and such, or it's got to be any day.
Do they have relievers at this point? Or they have pitchers?
Do they even have a payroll at this point now for how much?
Can they still trade off half their roster before it starts?
Yeah.
Save a little extra dough?
Hey, at least Paul Molitor is going to be in the broadcast booth for the Twins because LaTroy Hawkins is going to take a coaching spot.
Yeah,
so
that's good. I mean, he knows his stuff. When I've heard him on the radio, he's very good as an analyst. So absolutely, I think that's a solid one. Twins, pitchers and catchers would be, looks like tomorrow.
Okay. So
if I saw that correctly.
Not that it's not a Brewers or Twins one, but Jeff Passan says Corbin Carroll broke his hamate bone in his right hand and is undergoing surgery. He will miss the World Baseball Classic, and his ability to play opening day is now in question. So maybe looking for another outfielder for the World Baseball Classic.
Okay. I wonder who that would be.
That's what I was trying to think.
Any Brewers potentially go in?
Not Yelich.
No.
I do not think that will be Christian Yelich.
No.
So
Multiple reasons.
because they got Judge, they've got I think Trout's on there, isn't he? I think Trout is. That's a topic for a day, I think, on a podcast, the fall of Mike Trout.
And like his career, and this is not a knock on Mike Trout. I mean, I guess it is and it isn't. Like his career, it's happening kind of quietly, whereas his rise to excellence, well, maybe not the rise to excellence, but when he became really good was quiet, in part because of, I guess, his demeanor and he's not seeking out the spotlight, in part because he plays for the Angels, and the Angels are maybe the number one underachieving team. Underachieving, I emphasize, not bad, but underachieving given the talent on that or in that franchise over the last decade and a half. And then the fall's been at some point you age out and your injuries start to pile up. That's also been quiet, probably because of that. When this starts happening to Aaron Judge, to whatever degree, when it's kind of already happening to Mookie Betts, when it starts happening to Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah.
I mean, unless Ohtani turns into a unicorn and he's still producing at 43, maybe it's Shohei Ohtani. I don't know. Well, that will be louder, for lack of a better term, because they're out there a little bit more.
Yeah.
And they play for teams that are regularly competing for championships.
Right.
Yeah, Trout's just like, oh, that's right. He's not.
It's not Trout, by the way. It's Buxton, Aaron Judge, Pete Crow Armstrong, and Pete Crow Armstrong, Aaron Judge, and Byron Buxton were the other outfielders.
Okay.
So, no, it was not Trout. I don't know why I thought Trout, but maybe just because I'm used to just assumed it was Trout.
It sounds like an all-star, like getting LeBron James in on a roster kind of situation. Let's get Mike Trout in because he's a name. Well, I mean, he is a name. Side note, the WBC is another one that's like the Olympics. Like, it's kind of quietly coming up. You know it's coming. You hear about it. And once it starts, we're probably all going to collectively get into it. Just last time, over those 2-3 weeks, suddenly, whoa, here we go. And it takes off like wildfire, hopefully without any big injuries, and then it'll be really fun.
Yep. We got to take a quick break, but I got to get to Surveyor's rant really quick here about people still questioning Jordan Love. Holy buckets, why do people hate Jordan Love so much? Is it the fact that they only look at yards, touchdowns, and picks? Simple stats, box score scouting? Or can the pea-sized brains of the Mongols wrap around the possibility that Jordan is excelling at being efficient? Let's look at some other stats and really break it down. Yards, 3,381 through 15 games, ranked 13th. Touchdowns, 23, tied 14th. And picks, 6, tied 8th with Jalen Hurts. How about QBR calculated by EPA to measure how much a play increases or decreases a team's chance of scoring? Jordan ranked 3rd in the league. How about expected points added when he ranked 2nd? How about turnover rate where he ranked 5th? How about being clutch, where he had 4 fourth-quarter comebacks, ranking 3rd? Or how about how he handled the pressure? He was pressured 107 times, 22%, but was sacked only 21 times. Is that his O-line or his scrambling ability? He also had 10.9 pressure to sack rate, which ranked 4th best. Look past the basic metrics and start getting it through your heads that Love is a top-tier quarterback. I feel better now. Have a good day, everyone. Oh, and Love also finished 4th in the final Pro Football Focus ranks, only behind Matthew Stafford, Joe Burrow, and Josh Allen. So, all right. On that note, we'll take a quick break and be back with plenty more coming up after these quick words. Bucks are back in action tonight as they take on the Orlando Magic. Tip time will be around 6 p.m. Coverage begins at 5:30 on your radio dials, 105.1 FM and 790 AM. Just 2 more games left to go for the Bucks before All-Star break. Magic and Thunder coming up at the end of this week here. So another thing that's kind of flying under the radar, I think, a little bit is All-Star Weekend festivity. Not really hearing a whole lot about it and that, but...
And maybe it will be when it happens again. Sometimes those things come up suddenly. Wow, big deal. I mean, hey, they actually got like a legitimately productive player in the dunk contest. I was surprised by that. It's not all like, oh, this guy has like 5 minutes of NBA time this year. Cool.
Yeah.
Most of them are, but yeah, I don't know. Again, let's see how it goes. I will be curious to hear it. I know this is one person's opinion, but it's also a pretty influential voice, at least a loud voice. Bill Simmons' latest podcast about why does the NBA not seem to care about fixing whatever seems to be any given problem with the league, whether it's All-Star Weekend or the tanking thing, which, gosh, I've been seeing a lot of that in the past few days. There's a long read I'm reading right now from someone who's like, okay, here's what you need to do. Has to do with like restricted free agency. You get rid of that. That should probably help. But why does the NBA just not seem to care? And I don't know if you saw the thing about content creators.
No, I
yesterday,
did not, no.
like the NBA has invited all these content creators to show up to All-Star Weekend.
Where's my invite?
Did you check your spam? It might be there. And the little thing I was seeing, I mean, it's not like a wildfire, but some NBA media types are like, okay, so you're focusing on the content creators. How about you actually focus on the game, the sport of professional basketball? And Jim Ozarski had some comments on it like, just hearing this from other NBA media types, like the NBA is not focusing as much on the game.
So are they focusing too much on the younger fans? Is that what it is? Like
Well,
instead of
they are, but maybe they're focusing on younger fans in the wrong way. Because of course you want to focus on the younger fans. You always want to focus on that next. Who else can you build?
Right.
I mean, we'll tie this back to what we saw in the Super Bowl. Big reason to bring in Bad Bunny is to try to get people who otherwise have not been NFL fans to become NFL fans. That's part of the reason you do these sorts of things. You bring in content creators to the NBA because you want to bring in young people who maybe aren't into the NBA, get them to follow the NBA. That's business 101. It may not be the right approach, but I understand why they're doing this sort of stuff. Now, in the NBA's case, I don't know that it's that's the mystery. You don't know how these things turn out till like 10, 15, 20 years from now.
I'm just curious, like, what would the content creators do there? Is it like covering them? Because when you say content creators, Hudson watches this basketball thing. I don't even know the guy's name, but it's he's a content creator that highlights strictly on basketball stuff. I could picture him. He was just watching another one the other day on YouTube and it's like, He enjoys it because they play basketball. They do these different basketball stuff and that. But I'm like, what are you going to do All-Star, right? My kid's not going to watch you cover an event. It's not like that's
hanging out, I guess. I think it's I don't to build buzz probably that more people start following assorted hashtags. If the content creators are going to talk more favorably about the NBA, that's probably the basics of it. It's like when you invite the media to cover an event. Now it's content creators versus sports writers in a prior generation, stuff like that. But the concern I'm gleaning from this is that the focus is more on basketball culture, but also player culture, which we've seen that for a long time, the whole individual nature of the NBA. And we've talked before about how there's more of a focus on the players versus the teams. And that theory that I've always had, well, it's not just my theory. I think it's actually Bill Simmons, is that you could have a rival league pop up of like 6 teams, take all the big NBA stars, and it probably would do just as well as the NBA, would probably annihilate the NBA because most people, NBA-wise, tend to follow the players more than the teams. Well, this seems to be even more of an effort. Obviously, the NBA does not want to go against their teams and against their structure. But maybe they're chasing that younger element so much. They're taking the individual and the cultural aspect, and this is kind of, if you're doing a Venn diagram, it's kind of a relation to all the free agency transaction culture around the NBA, which is strongest there compared to any other league, it seems. That it's taking it to such an individualistic degree. At some point, you start to hollow out the teams. You start to hollow out the championships and all of that, and it becomes more about the drama, and it becomes more about what does this person say, and what are they doing on TikTok, and what are they doing on Discord, and all that. Well, okay, so where's the actual league? What about the sport? Again, the comparison, it was what Osarski was reposting yesterday. It's comparing it to the NFL also with regard to flag football. What does the NFL do to grow the game? In another way, again, internationally, flag football, Olympics, get new fans that way focused on the sport of football. I know it's different, flag football, not.
Well, it's like what Roger Goodell said during Super Bowl week when he was asked about expansion, teams-wise, and he turned it into international expansion. Kind of a change that way.
It's international. But it's always focused on the actual sport, that's why you exist in the first place, to have to play a sport. The NBA seems to be getting away from the sport.
Well, heck, even World Baseball Classic, right? We were just talking about it.
Yeah.
I think that's been a home run.
Yeah, it's international, and it's the sport of baseball. That's there's something that baseball, again, I remember when it was ripped so much when it started back in 2006. It's worked, and credit to Bud Selig for doing it.
Yeah.
It's worked out great. Hockey with Four Nations a year ago.
Yep.
Well, we're probably going to see, we'll see how the Olympics go, but in all likelihood, again, the sport of hockey. And then the NBA is like, let's just do, it's not really as much on the game of basketball. And I don't know what's quite the deal with that. So here we go, their All-Star weekend, and I don't know how well it's going to work. Maybe it'll be fine. We have to let it play out, of course.
Right. All right, let's take our final break. By the way, our winner for our oil change from AJM Automotive, congrats to John H. John H., we had a few of you texting in. The correct answer was 2008 when the Blue Gold softball team won their NCAA championship. So put it into a randomizer on the website or on the internet, and John H. is our winner. We'll have another giveaway coming at you tomorrow. Quick break, and we'll be right back to wrap things up after these quick words. Quick little Packers news that just popped up here on the socials. This guy's been killing it. Matt Zenitz from CBS Sports with a lot of these position coaches and such, but this is a front office one. Packers are expected to hire respected college front office official Will Redmond in a personnel role. He was most recently the general manager at Auburn. Before that, he was director of player personnel at LSU. So, don't know if that's kind of related to the Eric Sullivan general manager. Everybody's kind of shuffled around roles, and now they're bringing in a guy who has spent a lot of time at the college level to the front office. So, not Matt LaFleur and the coach is not the only ones apparently making some moves here. So, there you have it. First, when I saw Will Redmond, I'm like, wait, the old kick returner?
That's what I was thinking. Like, wait, why do I know that name? No, it's for a different reason.
Yep, exactly. All right, let's do some picks here, shall we? We've got, obviously, the Bucks are in action tonight, but we will start, we got a full slate, actually. Atlanta taking on Charlotte.
I'll go Charlotte.
I'll go Charlotte in the Fighting Cons. Cons! That's Charlotte, you're missing out if you didn't do the meme yet, right?
I know, like, come on, it's right there.
It's got to be.
Again, it's the NBA. They're probably screwing up the obvious thing.
Washington at Cleveland.
I'll take the land.
Yeah, okay. Cleveland, Chicago, Boston.
Boston.
I'll go Boston. Pacers, Brooklyn.
I'll take the Pacers. Why not?
I'll go Nets. New York and Philly.
Let's go Knickerbockers.
I'll go 76ers in this one. Detroit, Toronto.
I'll go Raptors in this one. A bit of an upset.
I'll go Detroit. We'll go Clippers, Houston. Houston. Miami, New Orleans.
Let's go with Miami.
I'll go Miami. Oklahoma City at Phoenix.
I'll take the Thunder.
Sacramento, Utah.
Let's go Jazz.
I'm going to go Jazz as well. Memphis at Denver.
I'll take the Nuggets.
Yep, same here. San Antonio at Golden State.
I'll take the Spurs.
I'm going to go Spurs. Portland taking on Minnesota. What's the drama going on with Rudy Gobert and Chris Finch?
Not really sure. Something's going on behind the scenes. I'm as a Timberwolves fan, I'm a little worried what's going on right now. Not catastrophically worried, but there's concern. But I will take, for tonight's sake, I'll take the Wolves. I'll put it this way. If they lose to, I know Portland's been getting a little, they've had their moments of late. If they lose to Portland tonight, especially if they blow a big late lead, All-Star Weekend could get interesting.
Yeah. I'm going to go Minnesota, too. And then Milwaukee at Orlando again tonight.
I'll take the Bucks.
Ooh, I am going to go Orlando.
Your Orlando Magic.
Formerly known as, my Orlando Magic.
The team formerly known as your Orlando Magic.
Yep. So, I think we're just going to leave it there for picks and such. So, because do we have any good college hoops games? We had last couple days some really good games. Not really. Just a quick scroll through it. Not seeing anything that pops out. So it was a night last night that we did have some upsets. Purdue over Nebraska in OT, Miami taking down North Carolina, and obviously Wisconsin taking down Illinois. So that was a big one for Wisconsin, for a team that is kind of on that bubble there too. TCU also knocking out fifth-ranked Iowa State. So, but
does the American ice dancing couple, Madison Chalk and forgetting what her partner's name is with B, blanking. They're close. Do they win the gold today in ice dancing this afternoon?
Sure.
Okay, there you go.
This is.
I will say yes.
Okay. This is the thing, and I know it's kind of short-sightedness, but this is the thing where I kind of have a little bit, just a skosh of an issue on sports where it relies on judges.
Yes.
That's my one little bugaboo. I'd rather have it be decided, and I know you can't in this instances, but it's like, we can't say ball don't lie, puck don't lie,
Scoreboard. What did that person think?
That's where it's like, the phrase that we say a lot, don't let the officials decide it, like in football or something.
No, here
you are letting judges and officials. That's where it's like, that to me is like,
Well, like this morning is watching the Moguls. Like there's the speed, and as they reminded on the broadcast, like it's not just the time, how fast they go, it's how they did the tricks, how they did the turns and everything. And what did the judges ultimately say? That we accept it because it's been that way for decades.
yeah.
But it's so tough to predict.
And I will always have conspiracy theory on my mind. Oh, that judge must not like that person for whatever reason. It's the whole Russia thing, I guess.
The Russian judge?
Yeah.
I know that's the cliche, but...
Right, but it's like, that's my one little bugaboo.
Yeah. Well, it's tougher now, too, with the specific, like the tenths and the hundredths of a point. Well, I was thinking when I was watching some of the early competition, I'm like, I'd kind of like to know what... because it's out there. But I'd like to know what are the exact metrics to judge take the figure skating, for example, and the ice dancing. Find out exactly what is it, because I think you probably could come fairly close to replicating. If you have a knowledge of it, if you're that skilled in it, then you could probably figure out about what the judges are going to think. They still will surprise you. That's the bugaboo with this if you're trying to predict prediction markets, and which, of course, that's much more.
Kalshi or whatever it's called.
Kalshi and the poly market, of course. It's that's a whole thing that we're going to hear plenty more about. But good luck trying to figure that out exactly. That's as they say, a stay away, as far as I'm concerned. Anything involving judges is a stay away. Don't. Just enjoy it. It's entertainment. Leave it at that.
Yeah.
If you like Minions, you like Minions. If you know what I'm talking about with figure skating, then that's just fun.
Right. Okay, less than a minute left to the. Apparently, Corbin Carroll wasn't the only one that broke his hammy-bone. Jackson Holliday did too. So,
as someone was it Kurt Hogg, I think, or someone said today's not pitchers and catchers report day. It's managers reveal who's injured day.
Yes, there you go too. So stop getting hit by pitches in the hand. Come on, guys, or put some cushion on there or something like that. But yeah, a couple guys now.
Wrap yourself in insulation.
Hey, here you go. Minnesota. Pete Thamel. Minnesota is expected to hire Steve Stannard as the school's new rush ends coach. He spent the last 6 seasons at Kansas State as the linebackers coach. So there you go. You got to go for things there.
All right.
So, okay, there we go. Shot clock's off here in the next second.
There we go.
Yep. Have a good rest of your day. We'll be back at it again tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. We'll chat with you all then.